everyone, welcome back, HeelCast Nation. I am your host this week, the RAV Raven Effect, counting down the infamous holiday of 420 Impact Wrestling. With me this week, the one, the only, the real FK9. FK9, what's up, buddy?
What's up? Is I had no idea I was going to be on the show until about 20 minutes ago. So you're getting my raw, unfiltered, unpracticed thoughts here. So watch out.
And now, FK. Also, rumor has it that you and our boy Hurls from the HeelCast are going to be doing that knockout special here coming up in an hour or so. You're going to go record that. Is that right?
Hopefully, that was the plan. I haven't really been able to get in touch with Hurls all that much. So he says the earliest he can be available is 10:30. So haven't talked to him since then. So we'll see how that goes. The plan was to get Numero in on it, but we haven't heard from him in a while. So yeah, that's unfortunate. But yeah, we're going to try to record it tonight. So cross your fingers on that one. I don't know if it's going to happen yet.
Well, HeelCast Nation, there you have it. We may have an extra show here, FK9 and Hurls with a special knockout special. That was kind of redundant, but you know what? We also have a third member with us. Y'all may have forgot about him because it's been a while, but still rocking that awful name. Brother _, how you living, man?
I'm living all right, but I just want to throw this out to HeelCast Nation. Hurls is getting sloppy seconds tonight, all right? Raven Effect and Brother _, we're getting FK9's big wide. Hurls, you're going to have to settle for sloppy seconds. We know you don't care. It doesn't matter to you, but we got the real FK9 on, and we got him first.
And you know Heroin Hurls, he has no shame in that sloppy seconds. He's been pounding off to sloppy seconds and tag teams and gang trains to Page all day long, so... that's how Hurls rolls. Now, guys, check out ImpactAsylum.net. You know what? The spoiler thread's going on there right now. It's live. I'll be honest, I'm kind of a depressed guy these past couple of months, but definitely going through the spoiler thread on Impact Asylum this past couple of days has been a blast of fun. Definitely got me a little bit revived. And it's a good place to go. So, HeelCast Nation, if you haven't checked out Impact Asylum, especially during the spoiler threads, come check us out if you check out the spoilers. Also there, you can check out our man FK9 with his straight shooting show. FK, you came out early. Would you come out Friday?
Yeah, I had to work on Saturday, so I had a choice between doing the review Friday night and Saturday night after I got home from work when I'd be exhausted. So I figured I had to stay home on Friday night anyway, because I was getting up early the next day, so I figured, well, as long as I'm here, might as well just do it now.
Definitely. I checked out the show this morning here. Also, speaking of our man Numero doing big things with Diva Dirt. Check him out there. Also, Andre Corbeil's show, best in the business out there. Check him out every week as well. I just want to go back, HeelCast Nation. Look, we don't ask that much of you guys. But this is a prime example. I've been asking you guys to retweet our show, to retweet FK9, retweet FK9 and Andre Corbeil's show when they come out, just so we can get an honest word about Impact Wrestling out there to maybe help ratings, to maybe help them stay on Pop or get to a different TV station when this contract comes up. Case in point, so I get on Twitter the other day, and it's just some wrestling news website, and literally it's a big thing of Bobby Lashley, and this company is saying, or this journalism, these journalists themselves are on here saying, if Impact Wrestling would stop copying WWE, then maybe everyone would stop thinking that this company is a joke. Basically, like I'm saying, look, the negative stigma is going to come to Impact Wrestling one way or another, so just help us get some positive information and some positive reviews out there. We're not gonna bullshit and tell you something's good. We're not biased. Case in point, if you heard FK9 show, it sounds like him and I are on completely different levels with how we like this show. So just retweet us, HeelCast Nation. It only takes a couple of seconds, but helps spread an actual non-biased Impact Wrestling review out there. Now we got some special shout outs this week. We mentioned Impact Asylum. That's where the three of us met. It's how this show formed. One of the community members there, Phenom AJ Jones. Phenom, his mother has passed away. Phenom, we just want to say that you were in our prayers. We offer you our condolences, and we hope that you're doing all right and take care there, buddy. And thanks for all that you do around Impact Asylum. Also want to give a shout out to our boy Kyle, does a show with us. Kyle, very entertaining guy. Kyle's going through a lot of rough stuff, so Kyle, we miss you, bud. We love you. Can't wait to have you back on when you're ready to come back on, but we hope you're doing good. Also, my boy came back, guys. OSDH, the Count of Incognito. Got that PC issue worked out. Maybe we're going to get Count's Quirks back at some point, which was one of the highlights of the show for me last year. So, Count, we missed you. It's good to see you back, buddy. Also, props to Impact, the live show this past Thursday, or semi-live show. Ratings went up to like 320,000, so there was a big boost in the ratings. In my opinion, they all watched a good show, so hopefully that's going to continue, and these ratings are going to continue to at least stabilize or possibly grow. All right, guys, we're going to hop into the news. So Impact Wrestling has agreed to pay Audience of One the money they agree that they owe them plus interest. The courts have agreed to the terms as well. So basically, Anthem inheriting Dixie's debts and issues. I'm going to guess that they were well aware that this was going to be a possibility or a probability. Brother _ what's your thoughts on this one?
I mean, this is the way it should be, right? You have a debt, you need to pay your debt. And Anthem has bought Impact Wrestling, which means they bought that debt, and they're taking that debt on, and they're doing the right thing. This is all good signs, right? They're working things out. They're going to make the company solid. They're going to make this company so that it is in the black, and they're going to take care of Impact Wrestling. So to me, this is good. This is good for Audience of One. It's good for Impact Wrestling. But guys, it's also a great sign for, us, the Impact fans.
What I think is nice is that we're finally getting some news about Impact Wrestling paying off its debt instead of just acquiring more debt, like what seemed to be the situation like every couple of weeks a few months ago. Oh, they owe money to this person or that person. No, they're paying off somebody, which is cool. So it's nice little sign there that at least Anthem's got their shit together, which I guess we couldn't really say when Dixie Carter was in charge.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot, Dixie. But yeah, definitely good news to actually hear about debt being paid off instead of acquiring more. Also, guys, so Adam Thornstowe from Reno Scum has torn his bicep, which means he won't be available for the April Impact tapings, which are concluding right now as we speak. So for the next few weeks of shows, don't expect to see Reno Scum. I personally have not been able to get into Reno Scum. They're just not clicking for me. It doesn't mean that they're not going to. Definitely need some tag teams around. So it's quite a bit of a loss because, they were getting some steam there. FK9, any thoughts on this one?
Well, my initial thoughts are, at least in the short term, we get the Decay versus LAX instead, which we saw last Thursday, which is the feud that I thought they should have started this new tag team division with in the first place. Well, that's probably going to be short-lived for stuff that we'll probably talk about tonight. But in the meantime, I think we'll probably see Laredo Kid and Garza Jr. get a bigger role as well. And I like those guys a lot more than Reno Scum. So I don't like anybody to get injured. I don't root for that to happen. Sucks for Thornstowe because it looks like Reno Scum were probably going to be the first challengers for LAX. But I'm liking what we're getting as an alternate.
Well, first of all, FK9, I'm going to agree with you on liking the alternate more, just because it is the Decay, right? And I'm obviously a big Decay mark. That having been said, Raven Effect, I kind of liking this whole Reno Scum tag team. They're a little bit of a throwback, and they're a little bit different. The one thing I'm going to ask you guys, and, I may not have been on the show, but I have been listening to it. I haven't heard this mentioned. It seems like they do a lot of crowd piping in when Reno Scum comes out. Am I the only one noticing the crowd's being piped in general, it seems, but particularly for Reno Scum?
I don't know. I think at least 1 week I noticed. I thought the oi 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 thing was starting to get over a little bit. Maybe that was piped in. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean you're not lying about the piped in crowd noise. That's been a big problem in the past. I don't know. I have noticed it a little bit, but not that much recently. So I'm not sure if that's a thing that they've been doing with Reno Scum and specifically.
So my point here is that I don't mind it. I feel like a wild crowd makes for a better show, and it makes more interesting to watch sitting in your TV set. And, I feel like if I'm on my couch enjoying it more, that's what matters. And I think that's going a long way to help put Reno Scum over. And so I'm kind of starting to like Reno Scum. Do I see them as a future of the tag division? No. I mean, they're going to be, they'll probably get a shot at the straps at some point and actually hold them. But they're always going to be sort of like that secondary tag team. They're never going to be the main tag team that LAX is or Decay, the Hardys or any of those guys. But this is a good quality couple of guys that, to me, you bring in for maybe 2 out of 3 tapings, right? Maybe 3 out of 4 tapings. So they're there a lot, but then they go away and you have somebody else, come in and take their spot for a while. Now, what I heard was that Thornstowe was going to be gone probably through August. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Reno Scum between now and August, right? And we'll find out exactly what kind of plans that they're having for them if we don't see them between now and August.
And apparently now they're going to have their valet running around in the knockout division with Reno Scum gone. Bad timing for those guys to get injured.
Yeah, it definitely was. And it's always a bad time to get injured. As far as your question, look, our man Chef has said that, he chimes in and he's doing the oi, 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 and it's catching on the Impact Zone. Maybe it's not that piped. Maybe it is. Definitely a better question for Chef. But Old School Hill was always telling me, like, he was telling me he was excited for Reno Scum, and he's been fans of them. They do have a following. Maybe they just haven't really been able to click or connect the way that they normally do when they get enough time. So maybe, in due time, we're going to see some changes there. So, but regardless, Adam, let's get him back to feeling better here in recovery. Get Reno Scum back because we need tag teams. Now, speaking of tag teams, so word is that the WWE is looking to use the Broken character that was established while Matt and Jeff Hardy were in Impact Wrestling. So it looks as if WWE will have to negotiate terms with Impact Wrestling to be able to do so, which may either be a lump sum of money or something else. FK9, what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, if they have to pay Impact for the rights to use it in some capacity, I guess that means that Rebby didn't have the Broken Universe trademarked after all, right? Because she claimed she had all that stuff trademarked. But if they have to pay Impact to use it, then Rebby was just blowing smoke.
Now, I heard that she was saying that they didn't start to fight her until she applied for the trademark. I think that's the way I heard it. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit different than actually getting. No, it does take a while to get a trademark. You're not going to get a trademark overnight. There's a process that plays out. I think when I got mine, it took me like 6 months or something. So it does take, well, don't hold me to that because I don't remember. It's been a while. But it does take a while to get a trademark.
Well, there's another revenue stream right there. If Impact is getting money from the WWE, sure, maybe WWE got Maria and Mike Bennett. Maybe they got Bobby Roode and AJ Styles. So it's nice to finally take something back from them.
EY Joe. Austin Aries, my guy.
Stop
Dirty
talking.
Heels.
Stop saying names. You're depressing me.
I'm sure Rebby can get Fuck That Owl trademarked pretty easily, but someone actually brought something up kind of interesting, which I highly doubt would happen, but someone said, how about they give him AJ Styles to come in and do the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame this year and maybe do a match or something. I highly doubt that would happen. I mean, I remember they lent us Christian that one year to basically be in the crowd. I still marked out because Christian's like my favorite guy in Impact Wrestling ever, but still TNA back then. I just hope they get some money, like some good chunk of money from this. Maybe they can sign new talent with, who knows, but fucking rape the WWE for all they're worth when they're going to try and take this. Like, fuck them. Someone stick it back to the man. Anyone else have anything they want to add on this?
I do, actually. I just wouldn't do it, I think. I was kind of teetering for a while because, kind of like FK9 said, this could be a revenue stream for them, and why not? But then you think about it a little bit deeper, guys, and you say to yourself, well, okay, they just paid the Hardys a lot of money to come in. And all of a sudden they're saying to themselves, oh shit, they're worth more money with their Impact gimmicks, which, let's face it, that's actually kind of cool for a change, right? I mean, let's face it. Have we ever heard this before? The Impact guys worth more because they're from Impact? Just let that sink in for just a minute, how cool that is. But then you say to yourself, well, what happens if they say no? Well, WWE's paying Matt and Jeff, and they're getting nothing in return. Because these guys, they're not going to stay over for very long, right? They're older, they're long in the tooth, they want the younger guys. WWE wants that broken gimmick. Don't give it to them. Next thing you know, they're going to go by the way of Team 3D, right? And then they're going to be available again. And you could, if you decide you want it back, you can pick it up, right? So to me, it's just don't even bother. Don't even bother. Tell them, keep your money. We're going to keep the gimmick. We developed this gimmick. The only way that Impact could get anything at all out of it is if they literally put the Impact logo in there somewhere. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And let's face it, WWE is not going to give them billions of dollars for it either. They're going to try to give them some lowly amount of money and claim that their marketing machine is what made it big. So, in my opinion, the hell with it. Give them nothing.
I actually really like that. That sounds like the best thing to me. Just fuck them. You guys can't have it. You're not going to make money off of this. They're not going to be able to do it. Matt Hardy's going to be back to normal Matt Hardy, and it's kind of like a F you back because your woman's kind of out of control, bruh. Now, so former NWA World Champion, and it's unfortunate that the NWA World title means so little anymore, but a guy named Jax Dane is scheduled for these tapings that just went through. Don't know much about him, or neither did I really know that the NWA title was really much of a thing still around. Brother underscore, you know anything about Jax Dane?
I don't know anything about Jax Dane, to be honest with you, Raven Effect. Other than, like you said, he's a former NWA World Champion, and this is Jeff Jarrett, once again, going out the indies and trying to grab talent. If there's one thing that Jeff Jarrett knows, it's talent and how to spot talent, right? If he could market the way that he spots talent, this company would have been in much better shape to begin with, right? So, I mean, we'll see what the guy's got, but there are a lot of former NWA World Champions out there these days, and they're not all big names, they're not all fantastic, so I don't know that this guy is going to be the next breakout star, but let's give him a whirl and see what he goes.
I've literally never heard of Jax Dane until I saw this news. I was going to say a spoiler here. No, I can't say that. So yeah, I guess if he's an NWA World Champion, good. So hopefully he doesn't suck. Beyond that, I got nothing.
Yep, never heard anything about the guy. Don't know anything about the guy. I saw on Impact Asylum, some of the community was saying that they checked the guy out, or some of them even knew the guy and actually said he is really good. He's a bigger looking dude. Definitely does not look like an X Division type of wrestler. So I guess for a big jacked up dude who's Jax Dane, he's a pretty good wrestler. So, hey, more the merrier. I know FK9 doesn't really agree with that part, which we might talk about a little bit later, but more the merrier for me. So speaking of more the merrier, AAA's Dorian Roldan. So he's apparently stated that Lucha Underground stars will be allowed to compete on Impact Wrestling now. They just can't use their Lucha Underground characters that they see on El Rey. There's a lot of talent over there. I'm not too sure how it would work out, and there's a couple things I'm going to bring up after you guys are done talking. But Brother underscore, what's your thoughts on this one?
I don't actually watch Lucha Underground. I tried watching a couple episodes in it in the first season and just really couldn't get into it. Wasn't my thing, right? But, so, I mean, I don't know how much I care, right? I know they have some good talent that we know from previous lives, in the indies, and that's all cool. And isn't Rey Mysterio wrestling over there too, Raven Fact?
Yes, sir.
Is he is he over there as Rey Mysterio?
Yeah, that's the point. That was one of the things I was going to bring up was Rey Mysterio. But yeah,
well, that's not a Lucha character, right? So he could come over and be Rey Mysterio. So if that's the case, then I don't really care what Gregory Shame Helms says. To me, the greatest cruiserweight of all time is Rey Mysterio, And even if he's a little long in the tooth, it'd be nice to have him back on Impact Wrestling, one more time for a little run, right? No?
I'm 100%.
I mean, that guy's like just one of my all-time favorites back in the WCW days. All those great cruiserweights, and Rey Mysterio just outshined each and every one of them each and every time it went out.
I'll speak on Mysterio here when you guys are done, but I definitely got some thoughts I want to say on old Ray here. But FK9, any things to chime in? Do you watch LU?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's not really my thing. Although I do appreciate how they try to be different from everybody else. So yeah, the fact that this is happening at all shows that hopefully the Hernandez debacle from a while back smartened everybody up. But beyond that, a couple of years ago, a woman by the name of Ivelisse Velez competed in Gut Check and impressed the hell out of everybody until management went to Ivelisse and said, thanks, but no thanks, we want Lady Tapa instead. And people have been calling them dumbasses for that decision, for that fucking brain fart ever since. Now, a couple of years later, they finally get to right the ship and use Ivelisse after all. So,
hey, FK9.
Yeah.
You know what made that one even worse?
What?
Even though Tapa was like 3 times her size, Ivelisse went over in that match.
Yeah.
She actually won her gut check match, and he still didn't take her. Even she looked great in it, didn't she?
Yeah. And to this day, it's still Lady Tapa. That was Lady Tapa's best match that she ever had on TV. Nothing else came close.
Including her MMA fight, right?
Yeah.
Including her Bellator stint.
You know what would be some ill shit, though, for real? Would be fucking Ivelisse and Diamante together with the LAX, because, Ivelisse kind of played that gangster chick there in LU that I saw. I mean, there's enough talent on the roster now. I mean, maybe some knockouts tag team titles could come back. I think those two paired together would be sick. No one else, huh?
I don't know, man. The knockout tag titles. That's bringing back some unpleasant memories. I'd be very...
Eli and Bam. I forgot.
Hey, they're still reigning tag team champions. I mean, how long have they held those straps now? 6, 7 years?
FK, did you have any more on the LU stuff?
Nah, I got nothing on that.
So Lucha Underground's had these fucked up contracts, and it's hard to understand, but I just know, they're locked into, 7 years of television, and people can't be on TV as long as Lucha Underground's going. There's rumor that Lucha Underground, season 3 is going to start, and then there's no confirmation that it's going to continue from there. Some names that came up, and Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is Rey Mysterio. He's obviously playing Rey Mysterio on TV. On Lucha Underground, I got to assume. So, I watched Lucha Underground. I fucking tried so hard to get into the show. I just can't. It's like a ridiculous broken universe the entire time. And I couldn't get into it. I watched almost all of season 1, tried season 2. The wrestling is good. It's just off. It's stupid to me. And it's cool to some people. I know Kevin loves it. I know BQ loves it. But there's Rey Mysterio. Dude, I'm so down to see Ray come back without the mask in WCW. When he was rocking without the mask and was all gangsta. I'd like to see him do some stuff with Conan, LAX, and just have Ray come back and be the heel. Because I'll be honest, I've always loved Mysterio. However, I hate the IWC shit, but Raven Effect pulled some IWC shit. As soon as Mysterio won the world title, I hated the guy. That's the only. As soon as my guy gets to the top, I start to hate him. The IWC shit. That is the only thing I'll fess up that I've ever really done. Mysterio just went for little kids, so I want to see him come back.
That you're going to fess up that you've only done, or that's the only thing you've ever actually done.
It's the only IWC type of shit that I've ever really done.
Okay.
Stereotype IWC that makes us all look like douchebags, and we don't want to be associated with those 3 little words. But I turn on.
We are those 3-letter words, man. We are the very definition of those 3-letter words. We got a damn podcast.
I don't think anyone would really blame you for not liking Ray's title run, though, because he was probably the worst booked world champion in the history of that company.
I'm going to tell a quick little story here, and it was the last time I actually went and watched a wrestling event live, And the guy I was with, one of the two guys I was with, one of them is hopefully going to start doing their show with us one of these days. But Mysterio was champ, and this was when ECW was starting, and it was literally Kurt Angle's last match before he went to ECW, which lasted a couple weeks, and we all know where he went from there. But it was Angle against Mysterio, and Kurt's last SmackDown match before he's going over to ECW. And we're booing the living hell out of Rey Mysterio and just yelling Mysterio sucks, me and my two buddies, and like all the moms and little kids in the audience are just turning around and looking at us. But one of the moms kind of gave me the wink eye and was laughing at it. Like she was like, kind of fuck my kid. He's being a little brat anyway. So I hated Mysterio because he just went so kiddie after that. But I was always a fan of the guy prior. He's a big fucking name. Like he might be bigger than Patron. He may actually be the biggest name Impact could get at this time. So some other things, you know, Ivelisse Velez got brought up. There's Sexy Star. I don't really know the deal with her. I've heard like maybe she's not wrestling anymore or got hurt or some shit like that. I remember this guy Ricochet kind of stood out to me. I think he may have been signed up to the WWE. But the other name that really pops out to me is Chavo. No, I'm kidding, but Chavo is on there. Johnny Mundo, a.k.a. John Morrison, a.k.a. Johnny Nitro. Like I've always been a big fan of this guy. And I think like he could really add to the X division and mid card, and maybe even be a main eventer at some point. I have no idea how the WWE thought the Miz was the fucking top guy out of those two when they were a tag team, and that was the guy that they chose to push hard because Morrison was so much better. I would love to see him come in, but it's like with Mysterio, he's Mysterio on TV. Johnny Mundo, like, does he just have to change his last name? It's kind of weird. I mean, I can understand the Lucha guys, you know, changing their outfits or whatnot, but I guess we'll see what happens. Impact would be kind of foolish not to try and bring in Johnny Mundo and Rey Mysterio and Ivelisse and some other talents there. You guys agree? I'm going to take that as a no.
I was waiting for FK9 to jump in, Raven Effect. I think that you gotta always bring in new talent, and I think that they're doing a great job at bringing in new talent. But maybe one thing they're doing a little too well right now is bringing in new talent. They need to stabilize.
We gotta have a 2-on-1 tonight.
What y'all do with Hurls afterwards is y'all's business. All right, y'all wanna bang in the back, but brother underscore is not being under that.
We get fancy at a Wendy's bathroom around here. We keep it classy on the HeelCast, brother underscore.
You know, Wendy's does have good bathrooms. I'm just saying. Honestly though, they're doing a great job at bringing in new talent, but maybe a little too much too quickly for my blood. So I'd like to see them stabilize the product. If they're going to start bringing in Lucha Underground, AAA talent, you know, let's take this, you know, post Slammiversary, maybe like a taping past post Slammiversary. So, you know, maybe work it into more the August, September time framing. Give ourselves an opportunity to get some of this talent that they've been bringing in over before they start to bring in new guys.
I'm just saying this. Let's picture Bound for Glory, whoever the X Division champion is. Let's say the X Division champion just clears house, beats everyone in the X Division, probably a Hill champ, comes out and Bound for Glory. He's wiped out everyone. He's issued an open challenge so he can beat anyone. And then the first match of the night, because it's always X Division, the first match of the night. And then just Rey Mysterio comes out. Like, tell me that wouldn't be legit. Comes out and beats a champ.
And immediately goes over. I mean, I like Rey. I really do. And I get what you're saying. At the same point in time, you just had somebody clear out your entire division. You're bringing in a Lucha Underground guy, and then that guy goes completely over. It's just sort of like everything that we saw with Decay, right? Constantly getting beat the crap out of by every new tag team that they brought in. I just like to see them really start to establish some of these people that they're using and, you know, continue the trend. You got to give them time to do it. The fact that they haven't already established this talent is not the talent's fault. They have to take a little time. So I'm just suggesting they take that time and then do it. And to answer your question, Raven Effect, they could absolutely do that, but they could also do that at Bound for Glory.
That's what I said. I said Bound for Glory.
I thought you said Slammiversary, dude.
I might have.
I thought you said Slammiversary.
Let's just keep it real. I'm not the sharpest peanut in the turd, so...
Anyway, all right. So in that case, I got no beef, man. We got to stop agreeing with each other. FK9, can you help me out here? Can you find something that Raven Effect and I can like vehemently disagree on so we can get
We are
this podcast back
getting
on track?
war because both of you two, and we'll find a way to, we'll bring this up on the show at some point. Both of you two are like anti, because I listened to FK9 this morning. I know he's not digging all the new talent coming in, thinks there's too much. You're in that boat. I'm actually in the opposite. So we got some beefing to do later on, guys, and we can spice it up for the HeelCast. But, you know, I just want to say this real fast. One, how are you going to call Mysterio Lucha Underground guy? Like, he's a legend. He's WCW. He's whatever that other company is, the E or some shit like that. Lucha, EC Dub. Like, he's everything. But, look, we talked about...
everything but Impact.
We talked about getting down to business, getting freaky in a Wendy's bathroom. Talked about sloppy seconds and beating it up. So... This is a spoiler, but we can go ahead and say this because Impact Wrestling is tweeting it out. So a name I never, ever in a million years thought would have shown back up at Impact Wrestling came back tonight. The legendary, the big bad booty daddy, Big Papa Pump is your hookup. Holler if you hear me. Scott fucking Steiner. Back at Impact. How crazy is this, brother underscore? How crazy is this?
So... do y'all remember the Aces and Eights thing? Right? I was hell-bent on the big reveal was going to be Big Papa Pump and Jeff Jarrett coming back. I thought that would have been the most killer reveal ever. I thought they were going to do the thing right. They obviously didn't. But a lot of that was me just marking out to get Big Papa Pump back. Right? I wanted Big Papa Pump back so bad. And so now, you know, I'm checking my Facebook feed. I see Big Papa Pump in the house, man. Let me tell you something. I hollered the whole way down the damn road. This is freaking awesome. I love me some Big Papa Pump. It doesn't add up, Raven Effect. I'll tell you that right now. It doesn't add up, but it never does with Big Papa Pump. Because Big Papa Pump really bad with numbers, if y'all know what I'm talking about out there, HeelCast Nation. The guy gives a phenomenal promo. He's always in phenomenal shape. I'd be shocked if he's not in phenomenal shape now. And yeah, he may be older than dirt. I get that. But you know what? So is a guy over at the E. What's his name again, Raven Effect? Something about wrestling in the main event for the World Championship at WrestleMania this year. So don't give me that crap that he can't be used in a spot role here and there, you know, to put talent over and to just do his thing. So yeah, Big Papa Pump is back. I'm psyched. I'm stoked. I'm off the walls, bouncing around, man. I'm swear to God, I am like Hurls at a porn convention right now.
Hurls was apparently at that porn convention in Orlando, known as WrestleMania weekend, but yeah. FK9, Scott Steiner is back. He doesn't even have to, whatever the Cody was saying, telling people to bring up to Eric Bischoff about like him and his wife having a threesome with some other chick or something like that. If you guys remember that. FK9, your thoughts on Scott fucking Steiner? 50-something-year-old Scott Steiner back in Impact Wrestling.
If he's there to replace Rockstar Spud as the new ring announcer, great. If he's there to cut a promo and teach somebody a math lesson, even better. If he's there to wrestle, no thank you. The guy's 50 plus. He's got to be mostly crippled at this point. He could barely move the last time he was there. I don't have any desire to see him wrestle again. He's an entertaining personality, but for me, that's where the buck stops.
Yeah, I definitely look. So I'm sitting back and, you know, I'm on the spoiler thread and I'm bullshitting with people and I get the DM in my Facebook from fucking Chef. And it's between, you know, it's the combo that Chef, brother underscore, and I have. And Chef says, yo, Big Papa is here, or Big Papa Pump is back. Don't tell anyone. You got to keep that on the low. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you because I know you can keep this quiet. Dude, it was so hard not to fucking just want to, like, I wanted to say and break the spoiler on Impact Asylum, but, like, I couldn't do that to Chef, but I was just waiting for it. And then as soon as I saw Steiner came up, like, you can see that on Impact Asylum, it's like 50 new comments in, like, a second. He was worn down. You know, in his WWE run, he really didn't. He did better in his Impact run than he did when he came back to WWE physically. And there were times that Steiner showed flashes he could really wrestle, but look, that was damn near 10 years ago. The guy's in his 50s. Look, let's be honest, when you got that much muscle and bulk on you, it's hard to really move around. Like, we definitely won't see Big Papa Pump looking like Little Papa Pump ever did. I don't want to see him return full time, but dude, how awesome would it be if he took Josh Matthews' place in the booth and it was Pope, JB, and Scott Steiner, cutting promos, calling people fat, hitting on women. You know that Mackenzie Mitchell, if she interviews a big bad booty daddy, he's got to hook up for her. He's going to hit on her. I will say, because I know you brought up Bill Goldberg, Big Papa Pump got some victories over Goldberg back in the WCW days. And I will say this, back in the height of WCW back then, and especially when he got his main event push, like Scott Steiner was definitely my favorite wrestler in WCW for a good portion of time. Listening to the guy, it kind of sounds like how I've been talking today, where I'm kind of missing my words and saying a bunch of random shit that doesn't make a lot of sense. But it's always great to listen to the guy, and it's hilarious. And, I never, ever, ever thought he would have been back after all the shit that happened with Hogan and Bischoff and Dixie and all that. So thanks a lot, Dixie. He's back. Guys, what a difference a week makes. Last week we did this show, and we talked about our interview that we did with Rosemary and Crazy Steve. And myself, Chef, and Hurls, we all banged the table. We all banged our head on the table and said, it's time to push Crazy Steve. Stop booking Decay this way. Crazy Steve is a star. This guy can really have some breakout potential. It's legitimately heartbreaking to say this. Crazy Steve has left Impact Wrestling. And he finished up Friday night with the company. Sent out, he tweeted out a thing, thanking everyone. FK9, brother _ and I, we kind of got some stuff we want to talk about with Crazy Steve. So I'm going to kick this off to you first. What's your thoughts on this one?
This is depressing as hell. I had all these thoughts about how they could, rebuild this tag division around LAX and Decay. Now that's off the table. And there was all this potential for Crazy Steve to be a big breakout star on his own, because we made a big deal about all the untapped mic skills in this guy that they never really took advantage of that much. Now that's gone. I read a report a little while ago that he may be headed toward NXT. So congratulations to him if that's true. It's nice to see him earn the big payday, because he deserves that. But man, this really hurts. It hurts the new tag division considerably, because now it's up to LAX just to get over all these new teams when LAX themselves are a new team. I don't know what it means for the rest of the Decay. I'm sure Rosemary will be fine, since she's always been regarded as the breakout star of that group. But teaming with Crazy Steve completely rejuvenated Abyss's career. So I don't know what's going to happen to him now. It's kind of hard to articulate it, because it's just that frustrating. If it is true that he's headed for WWE, okay, good for him, I guess. But do any of us really think he'll be able to be the Crazy Steve that we saw in Impact? No, they're going to neuter the hell out of him, because that's what they do with everybody. I supposedly it was an amicable split, and there were no hard feelings. It was it was a good relationship on both sides, so I guess that leaves the door open at least for it to come back. Please, please, please. It just sucks that we're losing Crazy Steve at a time like this. I don't really know what to say about it. It's a crappy situation that he's gone.
I listened to last week's show, and we all have different take on things, different perspectives. I actually felt like, Raven Effect, when you made the comment about Steve and how he shined in that interview, I actually felt like you missed the boat. Because I thought you missed the most important part. And this is the part that people don't necessarily know, because they're not necessarily told, and it's not necessarily something that we put on the show or advertise, but Folks, they said to go back and listen to that to see how good Steve was, and you should. But here's a little newsflash you may not already know. That was Steve's first ever podcast. I want you to think about that, guys, for a second. That was the first podcast the guy ever did, and he was amazing. He had never talked on Impact up until a week beforehand. In fact, we thought we were going to be the first place to hear his voice. We didn't know that they planned on having him talk the week before he did our show. The guy had literally not been talking. He'd never done a podcast. And I'm going to tell you, Raven Effect, you're here with me, buddy. You can back me up on this. We got off that show and we swore up and down that Steve and Rosemary had been working together like this for like 10 years the way they came off. They were so freaking smooth. It was unbelievable. Breakout star, my butt. He should have been a breakout star years ago. So if he's going to go to WWE, whether he goes to NXT or SmackDown or Raw, I have no doubt, zero doubt, this guy is going to set the world on fire. This guy is blind. I want you to think about this, folks. He's blind, and he wrestles at a feverish pace. He held up to Decay last year when Abyss had his back issues. He's a workhorse. He is a amazing talker, natural talker, incredibly natural talker. He's blind, and he never uses it as an excuse. He's not out there running around saying, I'm a one-legged guy, look at me, I'm blind, I'm this, I'm that. No, he just goes to work, and he freaking produces. Nothing but mad respect for the guy. He's an amazing human being. I love him to death. Incredible guy to talk to, incredible guy to be around. And whatever is best for him, by all means, Steve, God bless you. Wishing nothing but the best, buddy. Absolutely nothing but the best.
You know, the funny story is we were working out, getting the interview with Rosemary, and Rosemary had said, do you guys want Crazy Steve too? And of course, we're like, fuck yeah, we want Crazy Steve too. And, you know, she had told us that we had heard that it was going to be Steve's first podcast. And, you know, like Brother Underscore said, dude, I sent everyone an email, and I was like, dude, like, the dude's never even talked on TV before. He's going to talk on our show for the first fucking time ever. And then, like, he talks the Impact before, like, just a few days before we had the interview. And I was just like, God damn it. You know, we didn't give them, like, questions ahead of, like, they did that shit on the fly. Steve and Rosemary both. And it was just, man, they did such a damn good job. And, you know, Brother Underscore kind of said a lot of the stuff that I wanted to say. But, you know, like I've always said to people, man, if we would have actually recorded after the interview and had just recorded the conversation that we had with them, you know, because I'm breaking kayfabe a little here. It was just amazing. It was awesome. You know, Steve was just, he's so funny, and he's just genuine, and he was legitimately like one of the nicest guys ever. And for him to, you know, it was like he was just as interested in us normal folks like as we were into him, and that was something that I thought was super cool. Him and Rosemary both. He was just such a nice guy, man, and just super funny. Loads of personality. The dude, literally, I think he's a star. You know, I remember there was at one time during the conversation, and he says it on the fly so quick too. But he's like, I guess I'm like the Michael Jordan of not being able to see or something along those lines. You know, and it was just the way that came off. You kind of had to be there, but that was by far, that interview and then just shooting the shit afterwards was legitimately the best moment of my wrestling fandom that I've ever had. Planet simple. Crazy Steve made a fan out of me for life. And, you know, anytime I had actually reached out to Steve, whether it's briefly, you know, I know how busy the dude is, you know, he would always at least say thank you or get back to me. You know, Crazy Steve is going to be missed, and the dude's a star. And look, we get a little salty when people leave Impact Wrestling on the show. Some of us do, some of us don't. A lot of us, including myself and Chef, you know, we really don't like it when they leave to go to the E or to that other company. You know, there is the rumor out there, Meltzer put out, that Steve's had an offer from WWE for a little bit. I assume that would be NXT. Rumor is Eric Young trained him and he could go into EY's stable and fit there. Steve, even if you go to the WWE or NXT, I wish you nothing but the best. You were a class act, great human being, incredibly nice guy, loads of personality, just a great dude. You've made a fan of me for life. I will always respect you. You will always have a fan in me. And thank you for putting the HeelCast on the map. Thank you for doing that interview with us. Thank you for your time in Impact Wrestling. I really think that Decay was one of the best acts last year. Like, really, it's weird because, like, the Hardys, Mike Bennett, Drew Galloway, DK, like, that was, other than EC3, that was pretty much all my favorite stuff from last year. It's kind of sad to see it go, but it's even more odd to see me enjoying Impact so much. The tag team division's kind of really been revitalized lately, guys. But now it takes a big hit with probably the most credible tag team there gone. I guess it explains kind of why DK had been getting booked so poorly and Steve was eating so many pins. So I'm going to ask you guys, that leaves Abyss and Rosemary. Brother underscore, what do you think happens next with Steve and Rosemary, or Abyss and Rosemary?
I don't know. I don't know where it leaves Abyss, but let's face it. I mean, Abyss was injured with bad back for a good bit of the end of last year, and that caused Crazy Steve to be a major workhorse in the matches. And a lot of people took notice. I think if you talk to Chef, he'll be the first person to point out that he has an incredible amount of respect for Steve for how he carried that team. So I think that you're going to see a lighter load for Abyss. I mean, Abyss is working in the back already, so probably a lighter load and an entry into the Hall of Fame. I don't think there's too much left for Abyss, which is why at the end of the day, this breakup might not be as bad as what you might think. And that having been said, they could have brought anybody in to work with Steve, right? Or just made Steve solo. Would have been even better. As far as Rosemary, I think Rosemary's in a good place with Impact. She's she's a knockouts champion. She's a dominant knockouts champion, so I think that she's going to survive and go on her own way. And that's one of the things that I really liked about, Rosemary being with Decay for as long as she was, for the fact that she didn't necessarily wrestle for a long time. And we talked about this, right? And we talked about this with her, that this is a great way for her to have a longer character arc. And I told her that. I said, look, dude, I don't really want to see you get in the ring right away. And she said, well, she kind of obviously wanted to get in the ring, but she understood it gives her a longer character arc. So rather than her having won the Knockouts Championship, say, a year ago, she's Knockouts Champion now and has been over for a year. So her leaving, the Decay is just another transformation in that character arc for her. So now she gets to be Rosemary without the Decay, and that gives her the opportunity, if she takes it, to stick around with Impact for another year or 2 years as Rosemary on her own. Then you switch up the character. And that's the great thing about Rosemary, and the reason why I never worry about my sis is because she can do anything. If you watch her indie work, she's done every character from goofy to serious to crazy and back again in indie work. So I think that her ability to stick around, if she chooses to stick around, right? And I don't know what her contract situation is, but if she chooses to stick around Impact Wrestling, you're talking about somebody that has Hall of Fame written all over her. All she's got to do is just stay. So I don't worry about her too much.
I guess they could always think about putting someone else with Rosemary and Abyss and try to keep the team going as like a Decay 2.0. I don't know if that would work because the chemistry with Steve and Rosemary especially is what made that group. But if that's the end of the Decay, my guess is we'll start to see Abyss kind of transition into a backstage role, which I thought was the direction he was heading in prior to the Decay, really revitalizing him. So I don't know if we'll be seeing a whole lot of Abyss after this. Rosemary, I think, is fine. She's still the Knockouts champion. That's kind of unrelated to the Decay stuff. She's still technically undefeated, still being booked in a dominant way. I think she's kind of got shafted for screen time with these recent TV tapings, but she's still there, still doing her thing, and she's one of the more versatile performers to come along in Christ years. So, it'll be a transition for her, but if you think she can't roll with that, you're dead wrong. Obviously we don't think that, but of course she'll be fine. She's got plenty of opponents to come up in the knockout division. And like you said, now she gets to be Rosemary on her own, which is something new for her. And we've seen her with the Decay. Now we can see her trying to fend for herself, and she'll excel at that, just like she's excelled at everything else they put her in. So I think there's no reason to worry about Rosemary unless the contract runs out and she decides to leave. Please, God, don't let that happen. Just throw all the money at her, get her to stay. So it's almost, I think it would almost be a positive for Rosemary to be out by herself, because I don't know if I'd want them to try to remake the Decay with somebody else, because that chemistry might not be there. So Rosemary, I think, is going to be just fine. Abyss, not too sure. I suspect he's nearing the end of the road.
Yeah, as far as Abyss goes, the monster thing, they kind of ruined the monster thing. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think maybe him and Scott Steiner can both go into the Hall of Fame this year. Abyss is kind of Mr. TNA. He's actually never left us. There's been rumors that he's been working backstage. Maybe he's just going to drop it, do the agent thing. I know a lot of people like on Impact Asylum and stuff, they're wanting the Joseph Park thing to come back. I know Talon's a big fan of the Joseph Park. I've never been a fan of it. I think people forget that also Abyss came out and saved Joseph Park at one point. So they kind of screwed that one up. But I don't necessarily want to see that come back. I just don't know what happens to the guy. Maybe he goes to WWE too. Maybe they're trying to get the Decay. Johnny Nitro was there. But yeah, I know that when we talk about Rosemary, I had heard that she had signed back in June. And the old Impact management or TNA management, they just they were really only doing the 1-year contract. So part of me kind of thinks maybe Rosemary is up in June. If I were Impact, I would throw every dollar I could to make sure that she sticks around. I would do the same with Eli Drake as well. But, we're talking Rosemary here. And, look, they booked her so well. Really, this is the best kind of Knockouts title run that we've had in a long time with Impact Wrestling. And, yeah, I think she is legitimately undefeated on TV. I know she got beat by Sienna on a one-night-only show sometime last year, but that's pretty much it. They've booked her well. I would hate to see her go. She can obviously do things on her own. She kind of branched out anyways. It's just she's really the face and the star of the Knockouts division, and rightfully so. And so I hope that they keep it that way, and I hope that we get to see Rosemary continue to get pushed super hard. Obviously, there's going to be a Gale thing coming up. I know everyone eventually wants to see Rosemary and Allie at some point, but hey, let's keep Rosemary how she is. She's almost like a tweener, really, so she can do her own thing. She's Rosemary. She's like the female Undertaker in ways. So keep her going. Just make sure she sticks around. I'm sorry. Were you guys adding something in there? Guess not.
I'm just going to tell you that wherever she goes, that chick's going to be successful, guys. Wherever she goes and whatever she does, she's going to be successful wherever she goes.
Yeah, I'm a lifetime fan of her, and I will support her forever as well. Her and Steve both. So, Rosemary, just stay with Impact, please. Never leave. Now, speaking of Impact, guys, we can actually finally get into the show. Remember last year we had to fucking dig up to try and find news, and we would struggle to try and find things to actually put on the show as news to actually have a show. Thank you, Anthem. Thank you, Edward. Thank you, Double J. We actually have news to talk about all the time. So, guys, Impact Wrestling. I thought this was an A+ show. Maybe not A+, but a solid A. I listened to FK9 earlier. I don't think he's in agreement. But this was a good show to me. Look, it opens up. We get a preview of the James Storm and Lashley thing. It kind of leads into a hip-hop theme song. Actually, not too bad, and I'm not even a big fan of rap at all. I like the old school shit. But and then it kind of bounces back into more Storm and Lashley. It opens it up with LAX, the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions, defeating the legendary tag team of Joe Coleman and Jake Holmes. So LAX, the tag team champions, come out, get a squash match and victory. One thing that stood out to me the most is after the match, Conan kind of took over, did his promo stuff, talked about everyone's job. He said Diamante's job is to check hoes. If you act like a hoe, you get checked. That's a new one for me. But so basically, we get the squash match, and then the Decay come out and they brawl with LAX. A tag team title match was announced for next week. Don't want to get into spoilers, but that one should be kind of easy to figure out. Who's into Decay versus LAX next week?
Like after the news of Steve leaving?
Yeah, it's a real tough one to figure out who's going to go over in this one.
Yeah, I don't think we need to read the spoilers here. So how can you get into it? The only thing you can get into it is this is how they write Crazy Steve off of Impact Wrestling Television, right? It can't be too many more matches left for him if he was done on Friday, right? It's just like the next show. So I guess there's that. But no, I'm not looking forward to watching that match if that's what you want to know.
I'm excited to see it just for the thought of what could have been with this feud. Although I thoroughly expect the finish of the match will depress the hell out of me.
You know, from what I understand, like this match on Impact this coming Thursday is actually going to kick ass. From what I heard from the people in attendance, like this match is solid. Also, look, I'm not convinced that this is how they write Crazy Steve off of TV because I'm not sure how accurate it is, but I heard kind of some wild shit. And so maybe something different is going to happen. And maybe this coming Tuesday or Thursday, I missed Impact being on Tuesdays, that's for sure. It was much easier on our schedules. Maybe this coming Thursday isn't the very last we're going to see of Crazy Steve and Impact. Maybe it is, but we got that match coming up, and Diamante is going to check hoes. Don't act like a hoe or you get checked. So also, guys, so we also had Congo Kong. He came out and he also had a squash match against Chris Silvio. So old Bitch Tits came out. He had a pretty solid splash on that dude. I felt bad for him. Then again, you get some big titties in your face. So what I want to ask you guys, look, Impact Wrestling is using jobbers again. Sorry, it's 2017. The politically correct term would be enhancement talents. FK9, what are your thoughts on the use of jobbers or enhancement talents in 2017?
I think if you're going to use them at all, it should be for matches like the Congo Kong match or the LAX match earlier. Because if you're going to put an enhancement talent out there to get squashed by Lashley, then you're just wasting time. Because everybody knows Lashley is just going to kick everybody's ass. It's not necessary. But to get over a new talent like an LAX or like a Congo Kong, to see them go out and just obliterate somebody or flatten them like a pancake in Chris Silvio's case to the point where they look like they're having a seizure afterward, that's effective. It helps get over okay, this guy is a badass. He's a bad motherfucker. Don't fuck with this guy or you'll wind up like Chris Silvio, having to get scraped off the mat by a fucking spatula. So those are effective in that case. I would caution them to just use them in moderation because it seems like we're getting an awful lot of them all of a sudden. And there is such a thing as too much of a good thing.
Yeah, but we got like 2 of them this week, right? I mean, let's face it. What's wrestling come to? Everybody's got to go over. Everybody's got to win. You know, it's a freaking kids freaking rec tournament anymore. Christ, somebody's got to win and somebody's got to be a damn loser. That's what professional wrestling always was when I was growing up. And you always had the Hulk Hogans and the Roddy Pipers, and they go out and they just squash somebody, and then you'd always had a Brooklyn Brawler type and a Red Rooster type that took the frickin' pins, right? And that's what they did. They were pin eaters. They ate the frickin' pin. I gotta tell you, Raven, in fact, I actually have a note in my production notes that we get jobbers again. I like jobbers. I like watching people lose because I like to see somebody actually legitimately win. Unlike when I watch a Ring of Honor match, and guys, don't get on me because I actually do like Ring of Honor, but they kick out of each other's finishers 100 times and they chant, "Holy shit, this is awesome." No, it means you have no finisher if it doesn't finish the damn match. Okay? So bring yourself in a jobber, Jake Holmes and whoever the heck else that other guy was. I don't even have his name down. And let LAX go over on him. And then, you know what? Do the same thing for Congo Kong. We'll get to that match later. But this is great. I do agree with FK9 that you can't have it in every single match. But you know what? You get a couple of shorter matches. Gets you an opportunity to get some of that enhancement talent. Now I'm using the word enhancement talent for something valuable. Like Congo Kong is an enhancement talent because he's not a damn main eventer. Over. Get Congo Kong over, right? Get LAX some screen time while we sort out other things. I like it. It's good. It's good. It's bringing back wrestling the way it was meant to freaking be.
Yeah, I agree. Look, anyone can go to the old website called tnaasylum.net. You can check in on the archives. These columns written by this genius named the RAV, Raven Effect. Look, a lot of my fantasy booking stuff, and when I was proposing changes for wrestling to make it an alternative, one of the things that I've been calling for Impact Wrestling to do is not only bring back the X Division, the Knockouts, and the tag team divisions to what made them so good back in the days, which made Impact TNA stand out, but also to bring jobbers back in wrestling because, frankly, stuff needs to get a little more fresher, and I'm tired of seeing the same matches, and you're seeing top talent lose too many matches on air. The one thing, though, look, I'm not going to complain at all. I'm very happy it's happening. It almost kind of seems like someone was listening. Doubtful, but hey, I'll take it anyways. But look, I think a show is fine. I don't know that I'm really cool with 2. And, we've seen Bobby Lashley have a squash match. That's your world champ. Like, what happens if that jobber somehow wins? Like, is he the champ? Is this a title match? I don't like the champions getting the matches with the enhancement talent. I don't think LAX should have done it. I don't think Lashley should have done it. Then again, I'm an old school guy, and I remember back in the days watching my man, the Ultimate Warrior, fucking run down the ring with the Intercontinental belt falling off of his body, hopping in there and just rolling through some jabroni and running right back out with the belt. So, Impact's not the first company to have the champions go over and beat down some jobs. But I like it a lot. It's like, in FK9's right, it should be people that kind of need to showcase. Look, Congo Kong, there's no problem with that. Someone like Marche Rocket really needs a win. Maybe it would show some personality in Braxton Sutter. KM could go stomp someone out, Matt Morgan. We saw Patron do one. That's fine. I got no beef with that. He's not the champ, so I'm not going to complain there. But it's just like, I don't think they should do more than one a show, and I don't think that their champions should be the ones doing it. It should be people that really kind of need to showcase their skills to kind of get them a little bit more over. Have someone like, you could take KM, and they're probably doing it with Congo Kong, just have him just squash these guys and make him look like a complete beast before he gets into a real feud, which it seems like he's going into with the boy Braxton. But I'm definitely happy with it.
You call Braxton Sutter a real feud? I thought that was a warm-up feud.
It should. Dude, people are like all about Braxton for some reason. And
they're
that's
all about
cool.
Allie. They don't even realize that they're not about Braxton. They're all about Allie.
Maria leaving is Allie has suffered so fucking bad from Maria leaving. Like, Sienna is positive, but they don't let Allie do shit. It's like, hey, let's just stick it with Braxton and let Braxton suck the life out of her. And dude, like, I want to like Braxton. He seems like a nice guy. Like, he really fucking does. And I was all about getting him into Impact, and now it's like, fuck, I wish I never proposed that and was all about it because it's really bitten me in the ass. But do it for Braxton Sutter, Dixie. No, something that kind of reeks of awesomeness the way Braxton Sutter does. Karen Jarrett and GFW. So, shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, but GFW and Impact Wrestling are now one. So the two companies have merged. Now, I listened to this show this morning called Straight Shooting, and before we even started the show, I actually had to tell FK9 to save it for the show. So, FK9, what's your thoughts on GFW and Impact Wrestling merging?
My thoughts are, who really gives a shit? Take whatever talent they still have that's worth a crap and just chuck the rest of it. Because Karen announces this like it's something we should be excited about. Why? What was GFW? Well, nothing really. They they came up. They came up. Jarrett made all these huge claims and proclamations about how they were gonna revolutionize the sport of professional wrestling, and then nothing happened. They taped a bunch of TV that never saw the light of day. Their women's champion tried to sell her title belt on eBay. And last I heard anything from GFW, Jeff was trying to parlay the brand into some kind of pyramid scheme. And now we're supposed to get excited because, oh my God, Impact Wrestling is merged with GFW. Who cares? Seriously, does anyone who doesn't have the last name Jarrett give two shits about this? No. Just take the talent, because they probably got a couple decent talents. You got Magnus back from the GFW thing. Okay, great. Apparently Christina Von Erie's on the way as well. Fine. Take the talent you got. If they got anybody left who's worth a crap, fine. You're signing everybody else, so might as well bring in these two. And hey, they're from GFW, so you can't pass up star power like that. You got to have them. So take who you want, throw the title belts in the dumpster, light them on fire, throw gasoline all over them, and just move the fuck on. There's no reason to mention GFW ever again.
Brother underscore.
I think I kind of talked about this the last time I was on. If anybody ever actually remembers that, right? It has been a while, as you said. That I find it hard to believe that Anthem just called up Jeff Jarrett out of the blue and said, hey, let's work together, right? Because we don't have a plan for the company. I find it hard to believe this wasn't planned for a long time. I also find it hard to believe that GFW was an actual company. I don't know what was actual about GFW. GFW was a brainchild of Jeff Jarrett that never actually became a company. And I think this is his opportunity to make it a company. And so he, quote unquote, merges it with Impact. I think this is just a way to introduce yet some more new talent. FK9, and I how you think about that, buddy, and you know what I think about it as well. And just a way to, kill a few months and have some content for Slammiversary to quote unquote unify all these titles and do whatever it is that they're going to do and parade around with extra titles. It's a couple months worth of booking, guys. And nothing more, nothing less. That's really about it.
FK9, real fast. What do you think they should unify the belts between the Impact Wrestling belts and the GFW belts? I want to ask you about this question. Unification matches, you excited for this?
No. Seriously. They're the championships of a company that failed. That didn't have a chance to fail because it never even got off the ground in the first place. Honestly, unify the titles, honestly, who cares? Don't even bother. There's no reason for those belts to even exist. And with that, I have to take my leave because I have to go record something with Hurls. So, good night, everyone.
You're leaving to go record something with Hurls? I'm sorry. Do it for Braxton Sutter Dixie. Or do it for Dixie. Braxton Sutter just got trumped. I gotta leave and go record something with Hurl's new best HeelCast line ever.
Yeah, well, we are going to be talking about the knockouts. So you can
be knocking something out, that's for damn sure.
Hell and Hurls.
FK9, good luck, buddy. It was nice knowing you. You go to the dark side, you never come back.
Watch cornhole, FK. Watch cornhole.
You knew that cornhole was coming, right? Dark side cornhole. He wasn't missing that. He wasn't missing that opening. He's good with an opening, even a small, tight opening.
But hey, look. The bright side, look, you get a double dose of the HeelCast this week. You get a triple dose of FK9 this week. I tried to set that up perfectly so FK9, I knew how FK9 was ranting on the GFW stuff. I wanted to set it up so that would kind of be a swan song because we found out he was going to be able to go do this show with Hurls. So FK9, mic has been dropped. Thank you, man. Everyone, also check out the knockout special that FK9 and Hurls about to go put down.
All right, talk to you later.
Later, man.
Take care, buddy.
Well, there you have it, folks. We had to send FK9 off. I knew he was leaving. I wanted to set this up so we could kind of leave him off on his swan song because I heard him on his show earlier, and I knew he had some positive, actually the opposite of positive vibes towards those GFW titles. He also said to throw him in the garbage with the King of the Mountain titles on his show earlier. So definitely it was kind of like his swan song. I wanted to make sure we had him on here before we let him go. So anyways, HeelCast Nation, be sure to check out the special show. It's Hurls, it's FK9. Kind of a knockout special. They're also reviewing One Night Only, Knockouts Knockdown, which this year is called Victory Road. From what I understand, next year they're just going to call it what it is, which is going to be One Night Only, Hurls' favorite non-pornographic material to pound off to, pretty much. So let's just call a spade what it is.
Oh, man. He had to go record something with Hurls, dude.
I know. Hurls took a while to get back to him because, Hurls was kicking it on the Pornhub site and doing Hurls things. Hurls and Chef, Hurls a Bucks fan, Chef's a Raptors fan, so we got our boys in the NBA playoffs. That was kind of fun having that conversation last week with those two guys off air. But FK9, we're talking about the GFW belts and what to do with them. Now, we can't get Jeff Jarrett to ask this question about GFW, so we got to go to the GFW expert. The closest thing, the artist formerly known as the GFW Dude.
Who's that? Sounds like a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Maybe he's going to be Impact Dude at some point, because I don't know about that, Broken Brilliance nickname he's got these days. But hey, Brother Underscore, what do you think they should do with these GFW belts? Keep them around, merge the two? What do you think?
Oh man, enough's enough already, right? So originally I was kind of torn on this one, but the more I think about it, they just need to just be done with this. There's no point in it. It's a waste. The company never existed before. The belts mean nothing. There's only been a couple title holders for each one, so what the heck's the point? The only thing that you could have here is Jeff Jarrett just trying to save a little face for GFW, and maybe a combination along with, hey, let's get ourselves a Slammiversary and have it build up to something. I think Creative could have done better. I think Creative could have had, James Storm and EC3 ride it out as Impact guys and just kind of bring the GFW guys in as you shall. Hey, they got some talent there. Why not bring in additional talent? It makes all the sense in the world. But these belts match, geez, I don't know. It's a waste. The belts mean nothing. You've got Magnus coming out later on in the show. We haven't talked about it yet, but what's Magnus do? He immediately comes out and he says, hey, I want to be the number one contender to the Impact title because I'm a GFW champion. So what does that say about the GFW belt? It says that it's a garbage belt, it's secondary belt. So why would you want to unify a secondary belt? It makes no sense at all. Right, and the same thing with the other titles. So as far as I'm concerned, just bring the talent in, mix them into things. I like the fact they're not doing another invasion angle. They're doing is more of a merger. At the same point in time, do they need to call these GFW people or not? I mean, I can't imagine they've got anybody that's under a physical, contract minus maybe a pay per appearance type of contract. So what's the point? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. Zero.
Look, when GFW started, I was really behind it. I really wanted them to be successful, and I always did. It's not like I wanted them to fail. GFW to me, in 2015, I was really down on Impact management. The way that just the talent in the roster was just departing so quickly, and I mean, we lost some of the best talents. I mean, Aries left. That was rough. Storm and Magnus on the same day, stuff like that. And GFW, I wanted them to come into Impact because I wanted the talent that was there because Jeff Jarrett knows talent. Jeff Jarrett got a lot of talent. And that GFW roster, in my opinion, at one point in 2015, when they were first kind of kicking off, was better than Impact's roster. And I mean that sincerely. But I think, look, you have to merge these belts at some point. However, I want to wait it out. I think maybe somewhere in between Slammiversary and Bound for Glory because, look, there's a lot of incoming talent. Not everyone is being used on the show each week. And look, you can have the Impact champion on one week for a while and then GFW champion the next week. We have a champion each week for a little bit. It's not something permanently, but it's a way to keep storylines going. And look, if we're going to do title mergers and stuff, that kind of cuts off some storylines that we have going on right now. They're building a Slammiversary, which, Impact is actually doing a really, really good job of doing so right now. So it obviously it has to be done, but I just think maybe it can wait. So it would be Magnus as a GFW champ, Cody Rhodes as the next gen champ. Debate, where does he go with that? Would they merge that with the X division? Or would they merge that with the Grand Championship? Now, Cody's not really an X Division guy. I see a silver lining in this. If they merge the Next Gen title with the Grand Championship, that's a way to get rid of this terrible Grand Championship gimmick. It's not working. It's stupid. I can't get behind it. Just take it back to normal wrestling and make the Next Gen title something for the way the Intercontinental belt used to be in the WWF back in the days. It was the title for the best workers, like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, those guys held it. Or like the next big upcoming star. I mean, the Ultimate Warrior was not a top-notch worker by any stretch of the imagination, but he held that belt for a reason because they knew he was going to be the next big thing. Do something like that. And, it's just for the workers or the upcoming stars. The Bollywood Boys were the tag team champs at GFW. From what I understand, they're in NXT, so I don't know if we even have tag team champions there. So I guess that just leaves LAX in the clear. Christina Von Eerie, who was in Impact Wrestling, we can talk a little bit later. She was with Inc. She's the GFW Women's Champ, so we'll bring that in. It can happen. I just think they should space it out a little bit.
See, my issue, Raven Effect, with all that is, let's suppose that they did that. Now, virtually every segment has to have a title involved. And where does that leave a guy like an Eli Drake that's maybe not wrestling for a championship right now? Where does that leave anybody that's not wrestling for a champ? Where does that leave Braxton Sutter? Oh, maybe it isn't such a bad idea. Never mind. Maybe I'm making
Braxton's
your point
going
for
to the
you.
moon.
Yeah, Braxton's going to the moon. Just give him a one-way ticket to the moon. He could be the person that sets the new record for most days in space, right? And then talks to the president about drinking his own urine. Whatever. The point here is that it's already little enough airtime, right? Now we would SmackDownify Impact with 2 hours was the 5. It's too much, and to my opinion, you're just talking about belts that just don't matter. I agree with everything you said about wanting GFW to succeed. There's a reason I changed my name to GFW, dude, back in the day. Really wanted to see this thing take off. Unfortunately, it just didn't, and that's kind of my beef with it. Let's try to use this airtime as wisely as we can. Otherwise, we're going to wind up looking like Ring of Honor, where you get a feud that takes months on end to complete just because they only get one segment a month to do their thing.
One, where does that leave the master of badassery, Eli Drake? That leaves Eli Drake as the GFW heavyweight champion when he defeats Magnus, because Eli Drake is a main eventer in the master of badassery. That's what I got to say on that one. Two, the thing that I thought about GFW when they first launched, obviously, we can move on from it because we know it's not there, but it was kind of like I missed the old days of TNA when Jeff Jarrett had the vision and was, going that way because the wrestling was so good. The crowd was so into it. And I kind of thought like maybe GFW can be what TNA should have been without Jeff Jarrett kind of holding everyone back and keeping the world title on him. And, he really kind of stunted the world title reigns of guys like Raven, AJ Styles, stuff like that. And Jeff Jarrett kind of held people down. Obviously, I figured with GFW, he's not an active wrestler. He knows his time is gone. And maybe it could have been like the old TNA, but hey, now it is TNA, Impact. So we're going to move on. However, I just want to say this because since we've been recording, I've just had a couple of thoughts pop into my mind. I just want to run off of you really, really quick here. So this Hardys thing, this kind of popped in my head. So if I were Impact, I am kind of like, fuck them. But let's say this. Impact just says, you know what? Let's add up all of our debt that Dixie Carter had, that she got us into, that we owe the IRS, that we know Anthem of one, or Audience of one, and all these other people, and say, okay, WWE, you want it? Pay off our debt. Then WWE, instead of trying to kill TNA Impact, which like got them into this debt because good old Dixie did so much. They actually have to help the company they've been trying to kill off. Good idea.
That'd be a big bill.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be a big bill. You know what I'm saying? I'm smelling what you're cooking there, Raven Effect, but that'd be a big bill. I don't think that Vince is going to give that much for, a couple years of the Hardys, if that. I mean, you got to figure that if you're Vince McMahon, you're thinking this gimmick's got about a year left in the tank, maybe a little more. Is he going to pay, a couple $1 million for that gimmick? For those older folks, probably not, right? But I mean, it sounds good on paper. I just say just fuck them, Let this whole thing blow up in the face. They started a fuck that Al campaign, sold T-shirts, right? Now you're gonna give them something. It's like, you know what, Rebby, this is what you get. You're stuck off of television because you don't have his gimmick because we own it, and you started the fuck that Al campaign. You know what I say to that one, Raven Effect?
What's that?
Karma.
Oh, Velvo. Velvo acts like a host. She needs to get checked. Basically my point is like Impact having all the odds and just saying, you know what, either fuck you or fuck off. And that's kind of what I look at it. So it's kind of like, you know what, if you don't want to pay it off, then screw you. You don't get to make profit off of this. This is ours. We trademarked it, and you're trying to get something out of us, but you're not going to get shit unless you want to really actually help us because all the stuff you did to us. But I love the Impact has the upper hand in this. So the other thing, and you know what, I would also say, like, if Impact compromises in this deal, they do not settle without making WWE mention on air at least a handful of times where the Broken Brilliant stuff originated on. That way they have to say their name. Get some more viewers. So the other thing, I was thinking about this AAA, this Lucha Underground thing, and a couple more names came to mind that I forgot to mention earlier. I want to run especially one name by you because I know you're a fan. But okay, so there's also Brian Cage, who's been in TNA before in the past. I think Jigsaw was there. He went by Rubik, so that may actually take care of that problem. I don't know. Maybe he's not there. These are just the names I know, people, but there was that guy, Killshot. He impressed me. Jack Evans, who was in that match at Destination X 2011.
That guy should have been signed, man. Don't get me started on Jack Evans. The funny thing is that they wound up getting Austin Aries out of the deal. We all wanted Jack Evans. And as great as Austin Aries was and is, I still wish they would have taken Jack Evans too. You know what I'm saying? Like, why sign them both?
I wish they would have signed all four of the people in that match, which the crowd actually was chanting, sign them all.
But hey, we did get Chris Melendez. So, I mean, there is a silver lining.
So the other two in that match were Low Key and this guy named Zima Ion, who went into actually ended up get signed, DJZ and the Broken Beehole. So, yeah, I love Jack Evans. I would love to see him back in. Matt Stryker, as an announcer, when they finally get that chance, I would take him over JB, Pope, or Josh Matthews, to be honest. But the one name I really wanted to throw at you, brother underscore, because I know you're a fan, I'm a fan, would be Mr. Pornhub himself, Joey Ryan. I'm not talking about Hurls, but Joey Ryan.
Oh, man. Wouldn't that be great? Joey Ryan shows up on Impact Television after famously saying on Twitter that he had outsold all of the Impact merchandise on ProWrestlingTees.com. I like Joey Ryan. Joey Ryan is one of those talents that you bring in. You can't use him every week because that shtick gonna get old quick. Okay, but you bring him in, you use him once, twice a month. He's a Grado style character. He's a guy you bring in, you get a quick pop, you bring him back out. And I gotta tell you something. I've seen some of the suplexes that he and his member give. Dude, that shit freaking rocks. You don't see that just anywhere, okay? So I'd be all about getting me some Joey Ryan. And I'll tell you who would be behind Joey Ryan the most. Literally behind Joey Ryan. That'd be Hurls, okay? Hurls would be behind Joey Ryan, you know what I'm saying?
You know, and the tie-in with this is Matt Morgan and Joey Ryan teamed up. We know Hurls got that photo of himself with him and Matt Morgan. I mean, Hurls could be their manager. I mean, Hurls is a big supporter of Pornhub, which supports Joey Ryan. I mean, we got a HeelCast connection coming through.
Pays his bills, that's for sure.
Exactly. Look, I don't watch too much Lucha Underground. It's just these are some of the bigger names that I know and I remember. I'm sure there's other talents that may even be better. I think there's a guy named Jeff Cross or something that people have been hyping up on Impact Asylum, that he has to go by Jeff Cross on the Indies, whatever character he plays on Lucha. I don't know, with Jack Evans, Joey Ryan, Brian Cage, if they can portray those names on Impact, but it's something I guess we'll find out at some point. There was reports going out about how AAA was being slimy to these guys. Very recently, earlier today, I saw about how AAA, they have this stipulation, but they're kind of stiffing their wrestlers on it. X-Pac came out and said TNA or Impact was making a bad decision because AAA just can't be trusted. So apparently there's some pretty slimy dudes, but we'll figure out how it goes.
Dan, speaking of Pornhub.
One night in China.
One night in China. I'm telling you, man, you got it going on tonight, Raven Effect.
I got the porn on the mind. Thanks a lot, Hurls. So
poor FK9, dude is screwed.
Literally. Hurls' computer looks like a glazed donut by the time he gets off the internet. So we talked about some guys that could potentially come back to Impact Wrestling with the AAA deal. Sanjay Dutt did return, the original player from the Himalaya. So he came out during this. He proposed an X Division main event, make it a three-way match. We had Andrew Everett come out, give props to Sanjay. Says he respects him, but says that Lee Helms, the X Division title, is mine, all mine. Helms and Lee came out to dispute. Pritchard came out and take care of that question. Is Gregory Shane Helms actually in charge of anything? Apparently that's a no. So he made a X Division title match, a multi-man match as the main event of the show. Makes it a 6-man match. Thoughts on Sanjay and all this whole dilemma?
Dude, I beat my head against the wall. Look, when it happened, I was really upset. And the more that I think about it and the more I talk about it out loud, the more upset that I get. You know exactly how I feel in this one, Raven Effect. As soon as Sanjay Dutt says the X Division should be the main event, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, they're screwing Jane Storm. So here they built this match up, coming up later in the night. Storm's last chance. This is it for James Storm. He may never get another chance, right? And then, right, at the beginning of the damn show, they bring out Sanjay frickin' Dutt. And Sanjay Dutt goes, we're going to change the main event. We're going to make the X Division the main event. And you're going, they ain't changing the world champion when this shit happens. And you're going to yourself, what the hell are they thinking? And it totally ruined the rest of the show. I do not know how you blow your wad that quick. You got a match. You built it with these vignettes that were good vignettes. It was good stuff with James Storm. James Storm's always awesome anytime you give him a mic. And then you're gonna blow the whole damn thing just so that you can make this X Division match the main event. I got no problem, folks, with the X Division being the main event. Please, don't even go there with me. But when you've already built up a world championship match and you actually want to try to sell it to people as though there could be a title change, and you go and don't make it the main event, give me a freaking break, Raven Effect. Give me a damn break.
Yeah, as soon as that happened, it was obvious. Basically, 2 thoughts went through my head. 1, well, we're not having a new world champion. 2, we are having a new X Division champion. I'm happy Sanjay is back in the ring. I'm a fan of the guy. He's labeled as the best X Division wrestler to never win the X Division title. So it's good to see him back. Like I've said, it's a storyline that writes itself, and I think there needs to come a time where Sanjay gets that belt, maybe a build to it. I will say the positive here, the X Division being the focus, getting the main event spot, the X Division kind of the backbone that built Impact Wrestling back when it was TNA. So Jeff Jarrett knows how important that is, and we're getting the X Division revived. # revive the X Division, but that was the only positivity out of here. So then we get this vignette where Anthony Mayweather, a.k.a. the artist formerly known as Crimson, he's one half of Veterans of War, which we expected is him and Gunner. So kind of a little vignette gives him a background and kind of get behind him here. Any thoughts on Crimson?
Every time I see Crimson, I can't help but think of his little brother, Amazing Red. You know, you talk about revive the X Division, and I agree with you, Raven Effect. The X Division, and we'll talk about it later on in this show, has really come leaps and bounds and is really getting the push that it deserves. That having been said, man, the Amazing Red was awesome when he was in the X Division. And I just can't help but I see Crimson, and it's like, okay, Crimson's back. He was just a big kid that, you know, was maybe kind of athletic, but never really had that edge, never really had that presence that you want in that big of an individual. He's a guy that's always going to be supplemental talent. He's not a star in the making, and that's fine. You need people like that on the show. Put him in a tag team with the Veterans of War, you know, bring Gunner in for the same thing. Gunner's kind of built that same cloth. So, you know, whatever, you know, it's a new tag team. You know, what else can I say?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've kind of given my thoughts on Crimson throughout the past couple of weeks anyways. You know, from what I understand, Crimson and Gunner were a team back in OVW, and they worked really well together. So I'm excited for that. Look, we don't know that it's Gunner for sure. All the speculation has been. I'm a little worried that it could end up being Chris Melendez, which would just be terrible, like the worst thing possible. But, you know, definitely if there were to be a tag team, Crimson and Amazing Red would have been awesome. I'd like to see them come back together if we're not going to get Crimson and Gunner. But, hey, we're expecting Gunner, right? That's what we were led to believe. So guess we'll see it, but Crimson, no longer Crimson. He's cooler than that Crimson who tried to say Crazy Steve ripped him off. But anyways, he's now Mayweather, which is super classy because if you think of Floyd Mayweather, what's classier than Floyd Mayweather? But, you know, we'll see where it goes from there. I assume the Veterans of War are going to be out next Thursday. Speaking of a veteran, ODB got her chance to take on Rosemary for the belt. We had mine and Brother Underscore's favorite knockout, Rosemary, against FK9's favorite knockout in ODB. Rosemary retained the belt. Thoughts on that one?
Not even Rosemary could save this match. You know, as great as she is and always puts on a show, this was her worst match I've ever seen her in. And I'm not really sure there's much she could do to save it. You know, ODB was going to put her spots and do her thing. And Rosemary apparently needed a match. I think I like ODB, right? And I know not everybody does. I enjoy her shtick, but she's not somebody that's going to be main eventing. She's not somebody that's going to be at the top of that division, right? She's going to come out. She's going to say bam. She's going to, you know, drink some alcohol and some whiskey, whatever it is that's in that damn bottle. And that's going to be it for ODB. So why they're trying to put her in the ring with a ring general like Rosemary is beyond me. You know, at one point in the match, I actually thought maybe Rosemary gotten injured when she had jumped off the ropes. I'm thinking now she was just selling it as a way to, you know, maybe give ODB some kind of an inkling of an opportunity. It didn't work, right? And honestly, this is, I hate to say it, this is a forgettable match. It's just, these two just are not meant to be in a ring together. They're just not.
Yeah, it was forgettable, but look, bottom line, the right person went over and won. I know FK9 was worried about ODB getting the belt. I honestly never was. I kind of figured Rosemary was going over the whole time. You know, look, basically, Rosemary's got this dominant reign. That's what they're going for. She's kind of unstoppable. Look, she's undefeated. I know on a one-night-only show, she got pinned by, I think it was Sienna, but Rosemary's basically been undefeated the entire time. And look, ODB, like her, hate her, she's one of the bigger names in the history of the Knockouts division, very important in the Knockouts division. So she gets a win over a TNA knockout legend in ODB under her belt. You know, props to both. Obviously, you know, I think Rosemary probably going to be dethroned by Gail or Allie. I think that's where it goes from there at some point, but you know, definitely the right person won. That's really all there was to it. Forgettable, yes, but hey, it did what it did. She also, you know, what is it? The implant buster that ODB had, or no, that's Kong. Whatever ODB's finisher is, just Rosemary did the whole sit-up thing like the Undertaker, put her down. So, you know, they're building Rosemary strong. So then we see Swoggle in the crowd. Hooray. He bothers Rockstar Spud, whatever. And then so Suicide is announced for the X Division title match. I would much rather him just be Conley and get rid of the Suicide character. Truthfully, I would much rather see Homicide than Suicide. But hey, there's Suicide for us. And were you going to say something on Suicide?
No, but I will say this much. I'd prefer somebody commit suicide than have homicide, so at least you go on your own terms that way, right? Suicide's cool. I enjoy Suicide. I enjoy the character. I like the way he puts the gun to his head at times. I think that's kind of cool. One thing I'm going to say is that what they're showing is that they've got some depth now in the writing, right? Which is kind of cool because you've got the ring announcer who's apparently getting ready to enter a feud with somebody. You got the announcers feuding with somebody. Everybody has something to do. And one of the biggest complaints that I've had of Impact in the past, and we've really gotten away from that in the past year, is the fact that not everybody has something to do. Keep everybody busy, keep them moving, keep them doing something, keep it entertaining just by keeping, the wrestlers engaged in the product and doing something. So this depth is, to me, a good thing.
Homicide and Suicide. Hey, Aaron Hernandez did it, right? Too soon? Sorry, I had to when you said that.
Well, he did do both. He did do both.
Did.
But see, I prefer for people to die by suicide than by homicide, but it's never too soon to call out Aaron friggin' Hernandez, so I got no issues with that whatsoever, buddy.
Good. I was a little nervous to say it, but hey, fuck that guy. So we get Sienna backstage. She confronts Karen Jarrett and asks her where the GFW Women's Champion is. Karen says she'll be here and that Sienna better be ready. Sienna says she will. Pinky's up. As mentioned earlier, that was Christina Von Eerie, so it looks like we're leading towards a Sienna versus CVE feud. I'm just going to do Sienna has benefited more than anyone in the Knockouts division from Maria's departure. Other than Rosemary, Sienna's my favorite knockout. She basically, since she debuted, has been my other favorite knockout. So I think she's getting the push that is well-deserved. Anything you want to chime in or add on this one?
No, I completely agree with you. I think that Sienna has really shown a lot of character that we never got to see before. That was my kind of knock on her first run as champ. She was a big gal. She was a dominant force in the ring, but she just kind of came out and took care of business and had a mouthpiece and just sort of smiled and grinned and grunted at you and moved on. Now all of a sudden, she's got the Pinky thing and she's got a character and she's showing personality. And it's like, this is great. They should all get the opportunity to show that personality.
Yeah, absolutely. While she's benefited, I think Allie is completely not benefited from Maria's departure. She's just kind of there with Braxton. We don't ever hear Allie talk anymore or really do much. I don't know that this has benefited Laurel Van Ness either. Let's just keep it real. It's been like a month and a half. That bitch is going to get out of that wedding dress and take a shower at some point. It's kind of
I hope she doesn't. I think she's awesome in that wedding dress. Now, I just think if she kept that wedding dress on forever with the hair all messed up, acting like this could go on for years, dude. I would still be entertained. I didn't like her that much before. It was like, okay, yeah, she's sort of there. She's sort of the rich bitch snob and whatever. But now she's just awesome. I'm loving this. They're going to have to do something more than that with her. I get what you're saying, but just her randomly showing up, with that bottle of champagne that she's drinking out of, dude, that's epic.
I agree. Look, I have no problem with her, hitting the bottle, doing that, having her makeup smeared and whatever. It's just her still being in the wedding dress is what I kind of just feel is a little too far-fetched even for wrestling. But, I'm enjoying it. I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, Laurel's doing a good job with what she's doing. It's just, she's kind of out to the side with Sienna, Congo Kong, and KM are getting the focus a lot more than her. So Alberto is shown. El Patroni's out of the country. Basically, he says if Storm wins, that they'll have a hell of a match, and if Lashley wins, it'll kick his ass again, and that he'll be the Impact World Champion. And then, so right after that, we get Magnus, and he tells Mackenzie that he has a problem with Alberto claiming to be the number one contender. He says El Patron has done nothing to deserve it, that he had his shot against Lashley and lost, which is inaccurate. And that Magnus says he's a GFW champion, and that's a golden ticket. I don't know if we're kind of getting a heel turn with Magnus, if we're just getting face versus face. But it seems like Magnus is wanting in there. This could be leading to King of the Mountain at Slammiversary. Who knows? What's your thoughts on all of this?
I mean, it just goes to show you, we talked about it a little bit before, right? that obviously we know who's going over in the Lashley Storm match. We start watching all this, that they all want to be number one contender, and it pretty much means the Lashley, right? It also says that the GFW Championship means nothing, which, we talked about. It really does mean nothing. And they're trying to line up the contenders, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. They have a lot of people that are gunning for the belt, and it really does smell of a multi-man match. So let's see how they sort this out. But what they are doing is they are definitely trying to separate the top of the card from the mid card, and that's something that TNA, and I'm going to say TNA, had a difficult time with the last few years, because they had a top of the card, right? And they kind of had a tag team division, and they had a couple, mid-card guys, but not too many. And now what they're doing is, I think by saying that I'm challenging and I'm the number one contender, they're trying to bring 4 or 5 guys up and go, you guys are the world title picture, right? And then hopefully they'll get rid of this grand championship crap, because it is absolute garbage. I don't know why they're still doing this. If there was one thing that left with Billy Corgan, folks, this should have been it, right? Not everything else. And maybe they'll establish a mid-card tier as well, and then maybe they'll elevate some guys from the mid-card up. So, I mean, it might be good to that extent, but for the most part, everybody just wants a piece of Lashley. It's just more people for Lashley to run through.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've all had our thoughts on Alberto. We know he's kind of had a troubled history the past few months, but look, since he's been in Impact Wrestling, hasn't been getting in trouble at all, hasn't had any fights, hasn't been arrested. Alberto he's slowly winning me back over. I've mentioned when I saw him on Lucha Underground, when I saw him on Ring of Honor after he left the WWE the first time, the guy really won me over, because in WWE I thought he sucked. I thought he was super forced, pushed down our throats, and just a ripoff of Ted DiBiase, Carlito, JBL, and Razor Ramon. I just thought he just picked a little bit of each guy and ripped them all off, and just got force fed down our throats. And I was never a fan of the guy. But then I saw that he was actually a lot better when he was out of there. I don't think he's really shined in Impact as well as he did when he first came out and cut that skating stuff. But look, since he's been gone, since he's been with Impact, look, he's gotten a little tipsy, had a little bit too much to drink, and he's talked shit about the WWE on the internet, and I loved it. I still love it. I think it's great. Hey, that's a way to win me over. And so at the last set of tapings, he cut a shoot promo. Chef had told us about it and said, the dude was pretty real and legit about it. So, and I guess he cut another one Friday at the tapings. And Alberto, he apparently told the crowd, like, as passionate as he could, that he would die for this, to be in this company. Like, the guy is all behind Impact Wrestling, and he had a chance to go back to the WWE just a couple of weeks ago, and he said no, he wants to come and do something big with Impact. So the guy, props to him. He's definitely winning me over. I think obviously he's going to get the world title. I think it can wait. I would push it back towards the end of the year, maybe December, January, because I think Storm and EC3 need to be the guys that get it. But and look, Magnus, people forget. I think people still think more about Magnus's shitty world title reign than what he did after that, whereas he basically went to the bottom of the card and he worked his way back up. People forget how good the storyline and the angle was with him and Bram, and how good that feud was. And then him and Storm, look, everyone remembers the whole pushing Mickey James off the train, whatever. But that feud was really good, and the match that Storm and Magnus had at Slammiversary was an instant classic. Magnus really got far, and I think, look, it's time for Magnus to come back. Magnus is a star, man. He is. He's good at what he does. So I have no problems with this. Give the GFW title some credibility. Look, as far as we're led to believe, he's held this thing for a couple of years under Nick Aldis. He's apparently defended it. There's a sad story about him defending it like a high school gym with like 20 people in it that I've heard about. But, look, give Magnus his props. But, yeah, everyone's gunning for Lashley, including James Storm. So we have our predictable heavyweight championship match. Lashley defeats James Storm. Look, to start it off, the great thing here, Lashley brings Josh Matthews back to the commentary booth. Was it just me, or was JB and Pope just so much better, the two of them together? Like, was this a breath of fresh air?
Oh, dude, it was a complete breath of fresh air. Are you kidding me? Total breath of fresh air. Oh.
Yeah. So now we're back to the bickering between JB and Josh Matthews, and I don't get what they're doing with this. Look, I know they're not going to listen to the marks and stuff like that, but your fans, like everyone was saying, this was too much. It was too over the top. It's taken away from the match. And look, they can watch it on TV and see that that's going that way. I don't know why they put Josh back in the booth. I think just having him be Lashley's manager and like maybe manage some other people like Madison Rain. Have Josh go get his heel heat like when the women were wrestling Madison, you know, like they come across the ropes, like Josh will trip them and stuff like that. That'll get him monster heat. Just make Josh a manager. I don't know why they did that. Are you anything you want to chime in on just adding Josh back to the booth?
You know, I mean, I know what they're trying to do here, right? They're making an attempt to have a booth that has some heat in it, right? And they're trying to establish that these guys don't like each other, and then they can use that for years, and they can just go on forever. But they're doing a little too much of it right now, right? We get it; they don't like each other. We get it; they hate each other. They doesn't have to take over the entire show. I think Josh has been doing great work, and I know you guys have had some heat about it on the show about me saying that, but Josh has been doing great work. The problem is he's been doing too much work. He needs to pipe it down. And so, in my mind, you know, it's just too much. It's way too much. So that's why just having JB and Pope in the booth by themselves was so refreshing. First of all, JB's far more entertaining, just in general as an announcer. He just has more energy than Josh does. And then when you tackle the fact that now Josh is trying to trump that energy by being a dick the entire freaking show, it's like, oh, I can relax and enjoy the show now. And that's my beef with the whole thing. As far as Josh the manager, that's just another salary to pay as a manager. They either need to put him in the back and give him production work on the website, whatever the heck it is they want to have him do. Have him in the front in the announce booth, right? Or maybe a combination of the booth of the two, or get rid of him. Just to have him and pay him to be a manager, they can pay anybody to be a manager.
Yeah, the whole thing I predicted about my dog barking is going on right now. So, if you hear some barking from a little shit, I apologize, HeelCast Nation. You know you remember Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon, how they kind of had that beef, and it worked really well. But that's because it was Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, and that's two of the greatest of all time. Bobby Heenan is the greatest of all time.
Bobby Heenan is the greatest of all time. Yes, let's get that straight.
Mm-hmm. You know, this thing with Josh, you know, I'm going to say this, and I said this on the show the other week. Like, when we had that match 2 weeks ago, the Team JB versus Team Josh, if Josh commentated almost every match the way he did with that, no one would be complaining about the guy because he actually put it over and showed excitement. And that's been the issue with Josh. You know, now, going back to Bobby Heenan, I mean, go back to the WCW booths when you'd have like Dusty Rhodes, Tony Schiavone, Bobby Heenan. Like, it's okay to have JB and Heenan, or JB and Josh Matthews. That was just the biggest insult ever to Bobby Heenan. I apologize. I know you're never going to hear this, but I apologize. You know, Bobby Heenan would kind of take quirks at Dusty Rhodes or Steve McMichael. You know, he'd just say his smart-ass little things that Bobby Heenan does. It would be cool for them to do that like every once in a while, but the whole show where there's bickering back and forth, and poor Pope has to sit there in the middle and, you know, try and be the wrestler that he is and put the focus on the match, put the focus on the product, getting the other stuff over. It's hard for him. You know, Pope is not Gorilla Monsoon. Pope is not Jim Ross, but I don't think Pope is bad. Pope is pimping, though. D'Angelo Williams found that out. But, you know, it's too much. And they could do other things with Josh. Like, shame him and make him be the fucking ring announcer for a couple of weeks. You know, do stuff like that. You know, where he tries to get back into Impact Wrestling and stuff along those lines. But he's definitely not the Jim Ross to Stone Cold Steve Austin with him and Bobby Lashley, like he said on the show. But, hey, you know, Josh, maybe it's going to be improved with him. You know, I've heard stuff that he was actually pretty good at these past tapings, so we'll see how it goes. Now, also on this show last week on the HeelCast, actually real fast, I just want to say to everyone, I'm a problem solver as well, just kind of like Tyrus. So look, Impact Wrestling fans, if you cannot tolerate the commentary, the bickering back and forth between Josh Matthews and JB, do not change that channel. What you need to do is you mute that television, and what you do is you play this show called the HeelCast during Impact when the commentary gets too bad. Just listen to the HeelCast. Hey, that's the best solution there is out there. Any arguments there?
No, I'm actually thinking if this shit goes on, maybe we ought to do a live broadcast of the HeelCast just so people can mute that shit and listen to us.
You know, this never actually hit the airwaves, but last year, Old School Heel and myself actually tried doing that, and basically it was kind of the Raven Effect show. I wish we could have put it on the air because it was pretty funny stuff that I did, but we just didn't get the whole thing out. We just ended up bullshitting back and forth, but it would have been comedy gold. I'll promise you that. That was rare form Raven Effect. Rare form of Raven Effect also last week on the HeelCast predicted that EC3 would cost James Storm the World Heavyweight Championship match, and he did. Heel EC3 is back. That's a plus. James Storm is not the world champ. That's a negative. I'll kick to you, Brother Score. I know you feel passionately about this one too.
Yeah, so passionately that it ruined the whole show for me, already knowing what the outcome was going to be. Thanks again, Impact, and whatever knucklehead wrote that script beforehand that had Sanjay Dutt changing the main event. The first thing here, Raven Effect, is how much more over does James Storm need to be to get the frickin' strap already? My God, he is the most over guy in the Impact Zone constantly, and they just won't give him the belt. Literally, Impact, every day that goes by that he's not the champ, you're screwing up, and we're happy to tell you about it. All right? As far as this match is concerned, you know, we got a couple different Josh Matthews chants during it. You know, Josh, you suck, and Josh is boring, you know, which I thought was actually kind of interesting considering this is actually a pretty good match unto itself. You know, Lashley's come a long way. He was selling the bumps from Storm extremely well. I mean, when you just watch the way the guy takes a bump, it is very professional and very fluid. I mean, this guy is light years ahead of where he was a couple years ago when he came back to Impact Wrestling. You know, funny comment, Josh complaining that neither of the other two announcers know what's going on in the mindset of these athletes because neither of them are athletes. And Pope just looks at it and goes, I'm not. Classic Pope line drop there. You know, Storm did an arm drop in this match. I don't know if you caught it or not, Raven, but it was one of the worst arm drops I've ever seen in my life. You know, thought the Dominator was kind of sloppy too, but that looked like it could have been that Storm hit his feet on the ground a little too soon. Other than that, I mean, we got a couple last calls. We got the ref bumps, you know, and we got the interference. And honestly, when we found out that this was going to be at the top of the hour, you knew there were going to be ref bumps. You knew EC3 was going to be involved, and you knew it was going to cost Storm the match. I think we expected EC3 to get involved anyway. I think if they'd have left it for the main event, they could have done the same thing. Would have been fine. But we would have been thinking, is somehow Storm maybe going to duck and Lashley get hit, and EC3 inadvertently cause Storm to win the strap so the two could feud over it. Alas, they blew the whole thing. We get the very predictable ending. And there you have it.
Yeah, it was predictable. Look, I got a few things I want to say on this. Look, I'm not taking anything away from Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley is anything but stale. Lashley is so much better, than when he started in the WWE, when he was in Impact TNA 2009, 2010, even when he came back in 2014 and wrestled EC3 at Lockdown. The dude has improved so much. I'll go out on a limb. I will say this. Lashley is either the best TNA Impact Heavyweight Champion of all time, or he's tied. Like, the only reason I don't say he's number one for sure is because that 2012 reign of Bobby Roode was so good. But Lashley's right out there with Roode, possibly the best Impact champion of all time. But this title reign is stale, and I'm all for long-term champions. I'm all for all that, but there's like nothing going on with it. It's basically been since June. Lashley's either been the champ or been involved in the championship matches. There's nothing to it right now. It's basically been the same shit. Like Lashley knocks everyone down. Back when I was really getting sick of watching WWE right before I stopped watching. It was like I was so sick and tired of seeing the same matches every week. Literally, it came to a point where I said, like, if I have to watch fucking Kofi Kingston against Dolph Ziggler one more time, I'm going to throw my remote through my television. No, I took the smarter route and the more financially secure route and just stopped watching. But like, I'm at the point where I never want to see Lashley versus Eddie Edwards again. I'm just burnt out on that stuff. We've seen him go through EC3 and kind of kill off EC3's cred. He beat Moose, and that's, it's kind of the same thing with Lashley. There's not a whole lot of flair going to it, and I would like to see them go a different route with Lashley, and I think EC3 and James Storm, you need to be the two guys with the belt for a while. Look, the one thing, I'm glad that we're having an EC3 and James Storm feud. I think one of the biggest mistakes TNA ever did was not capitalizing on having a feud between EC3 and Bobby Roode, or also EC3 and Austin Aries. I think those were huge missed opportunities to really put EC3 over as the top guy. Here's my concern. We know at the start of 2016, James Storm left NXT. He signed a 2-year contract to come back to TNA, which is now Impact Wrestling. If we're not going to get this James Storm title run, we might not ever get it, because who knows? 2018 James Storm may just go back to NXT where everyone else is going. The money might be better there. He might just want to say, look, I came back for the money, and look, Anthem's not offering these big contracts that Dixie was. So there's a big possibility that, hey, they're not going to be able to pay him what he had been making, and he'll just go take that money elsewhere. So there's that. If James Storm's not going to get it, then when is he? Bound for Glory, when he's only going to have 2 months before they got to pull the trigger on getting rid of him? I mean, who knows? James Storm is so over. He is more over in that Impact Zone than EC3 is. He is more over than El Patron is. He's more over than Lashley. Like, James Storm is the guy. He's the original. He left us for a short amount of time, but he came back. And look, some people get the world title reign, like a you deserve it kind of thing, or a thank you for everything done in your career. Chris Benoit was the guy that probably got one of those. Maybe even Eddie Guerrero at the time. But look,
Christopher Daniels.
Yeah, Christopher Daniels right now. I don't think it's that way for James Storm. Like, James Storm would get the world title because he's just that fucking good at what he does. The guy cuts great promos. He can have a great match with anyone. He goes out there and busts his ass. Go back to the Revolution. Like, they totally ruined that by the way that they booked them, but James Storm did fantastic character work with that stuff. The guy, everything he does is gold. It's just, man, his only world title reign was going to be 1 or 2 weeks where he lost it to Bobby Roode and never got it back because they pulled the trigger on Austin Aries, which was the right decision. But, we all thought Storm was going to get that reign, and he never did. And it's just, man, time's running out, and they got to pull the trigger on the guy. Storm for champ.
Yeah, no doubt, Raven Effect. And first of all, I just want to say that I may need to get my daughter to take some financial advice from you, because she actually did throw the Wii remote to the television, and it did not end well here in the underscore household. I guess I got a new TV out of it anyway. As far as Storm's concerned, here's a guy that could give him another, good 4 or 5 years if they would just let him. I just don't understand why they won't pull the trigger on him. You mentioned Magnus before, and you mentioned the work that Magnus was doing before he left, and you mentioned James Storm. And when you said it, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, yeah, well, James Storm made Gunner look like a star. He made Bram look like a star. He made Magnus look like a star. In fact, he makes everybody look like a star. You get in the ring with James Storm, you go over whether you win or lose. And, that's what you want in your champion. You want your champion to be the guy that elevates everybody else around them, because that's what you want in the main event. That's what you want representing the company. And for my money, in Impact Wrestling, that's James Storm. He's the guy that elevates other people. As great as EC3 is, and as great as we want to think that he is, he still doesn't elevate the people around him, and he's been very stale last year or so. James Storm consistently elevates everybody around him, and that's why #StormForChamp. This is why it's such a huge mistake not to give the guy the strap, because he could make stars before he leaves. This is not just a matter of giving him a thank you for everything that he's done. No, the guy has produced at that level. You need to give him the strap, and you need to let him bring people over. Let him put over the Mooses, the Chris Adonises, and all of these guys that we don't even know much about because they're relatively new. They don't have to beat him to go over. All they have to do is get in the ring with him, and he will show exactly how good they are. Hashtag Storm for Champ.
I hate to be that guy, but I have to be that guy. So
no, you don't hate to be that guy. You are that guy. You love being that guy, and you'll continue to be that guy.
I just gotta, because here's the thing. Our boy Count is back listening to us. He got his PC issues fixed. I just noticed that Count's quirks are probably back. I didn't get a chance to put him back, but I know Count would beat me to this. So you said that James Storm makes everyone a star. I got 2 words for you. Mahabali Shira. Didn't turn Koya into a star there in that feud, but hey, who can?
It's the only time it was relevant, right?
What?
I mean,
remember that dance he did at one point?
Yeah, that was relevant. He was a star. I forgot because he flips his fingers. I still can't do that, by the way. I watch it and I see the audience do it, and I'm like, the brother underscore G just can't do the finger thing, and then I stop and think, I really don't want to be doing this anyway.
Yeah. Look, I was thinking of some fantasy booking a while back. I just want to throw this out there. This is kind of what I would have done. I would have pulled the trigger and James Storm would have won the belt. This episode of Impact. And then,
no way.
Of course.
Really? Damn.
Now, temporarily, while we're building up to Slammiversary, in between this, James Storm could have a mini feud with Bram and or Kingston both. Okay, so, Storm gets his successful title matches. We go to King of the Mountain at Slammiversary, and Storm and EC3 are the last 2 going for it. The ring announcer, Rockstar Spud, comes up, hits the low blow. EC3 gets the belt. There we have the heel turn for EC3 with Rockstar Spud as his manager. You put the 2 of them back together. So then we build the Bound for Glory for the very, very, very first time. One-on-one, we get James Storm versus EC3. You have months and months and months of building to this huge match. James Storm gets his redemption, beats EC3 clean, right? Okay, so then January rolls around. They do a pay-per-view, either Final Resolution or Genesis, and this is where James Storm can drop the belt to Alberto El Patron and possibly, the passing of the torch kind of a thing. That's just, people may not like it. Maybe you do. That's just something I thought of that I think would have translated well on TV.
So when are we getting another Nevermore anyway?
I have no idea. Maybe Nevermore.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. We need honestly, more of your scrolls.
I've been putting my booking cap on the past couple of days, to be honest. I mean, all these tapings and stuff, I'm getting a little worked up and excited. I don't know if I'm ever going to translate it, but, I've thought of some ideas that have been coming around.
HeelCast Nation, it's getting ready to come. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Raven Effects, Scrolls of Nevermore return.
HeelCast Nation getting ready to come. Hurls isn't on the show.
Well, he's already come several times.
Yes, poor FK.
Yeah, FK9, he's butthurt over it too.
Literally. So, look, Moose is, we get the promo from Moose after this. He's backstage. So we find out at Border City Wrestling that Chris Adonis, 1 week after being on the babyface team, turns heel and attacks Moose at this Border City Wrestling event. Puts the master lock on him, which is a full Nelson. So Moose challenges Adonis, who shows up in a cast, stating that Moose assaulted him and broke his arm. I don't know where that apparently stemmed from, but hey, that apparently happened. So he says he knows someone who wants to face Moose. So my man Davey Richards comes out. He attacks Moose from behind. He kisses Angelina during the attack. So we set up a match with Davey Richards and Moose next week. So it looks like we're getting a Moose versus Chris Adonis feud for some reason. But hey, Grand Championship match next week. Thoughts?
Yippee, we get a Grand Championship match. Look, I got a few things on this. First of all, don't you just like the way they're using these Border City wrestling shows type things as quote unquote house shows, and they're using the build feuds? It's kind of like saying, hey, if Impact Wrestling stars are there, something important might happen. And what they're also doing is they're also taking this and using it as an opportunity to try out and see what type of content they can put in their house shows when Impact starts running house shows again, and how they can incorporate that into the main show. So this is really good planning on their part. And it's also good for Border City Wrestling, obviously, because it puts them over as well. So I'm absolutely, loving this. The other thing I'm going to say before I go any further is I'm enjoying this Davey Richards character. I don't know how much I care for Angelina, but I never really liked her. But I am enjoying this Davey Richards character immensely, to the point of as turned over as a tag team division is, I don't miss the Wolves. Right, because they're doing such good work in their singles feud that the fact that they're not a part of a tag division is just like it's great. It's allowing other teams to do things in the tag division, and these guys are just literally tearing the house down. That having been said, again, I'm gonna put my money on Moose next week, because looks like Moose is feuding with Chris Adonis. And Davey Richards is just coming out to have a match with him. So I'm sure we'll find, some interference somewhere, I think, between Angelina and Adonis. There will be some shenanigans in this match, but it's impossible for me to think that Davey Richards is going over. So again, we've got a fairly predictable match coming next week, Raven Effect.
Yeah, we do. So I got a few things that I want to chirp on this. For one, I don't understand why Chris Adonis is getting the shot with Moose. Nothing about that screams like a good match to me. Look, and I'm not going to bash Chris Adonis. From what I understand, I've heard people say that on the indies he's improved since his WWE days. He was a guy that was really forced down everyone's throat. He had the big thing with Shawn Michaels. That was like his claim to fame, that master lock. His biggest angle or feud or whatever. And then he got popped for steroids. His physique significantly slimmed down like Hulk Hogan did around WrestleMania 9, kind of a thing. And, that was the release, kind of the end of him. There's a guy who's really, really good and talented out there on this Impact roster that I don't think is being used very well. And it baffles me that Chris Adonis is getting this spot over
Robbie E.
Drake.
Oh, I thought you were saying Robbie E.
We got Robbie E to talk later, that's for sure. Why is Adonis getting this thing with Moose when there's Robbie E on the roster? There's better people out there. I mean, shit.
I got you to say Robbie E. I love it. I got you to say Robbie E. You meant Eli Drake, man. Yeah, you said Robbie E. You said why are they doing this Chris Adonis? So they get Robbie E on the roster. That's awesome.
Oh, God. FK9's toilet paper, that is. I meant Eli Drake. Look, I mean, and even if not Eli Drake, there's Bram out there. Like, there's better spots for this than Chris Adonis. Matt Morgan, another one. It's just, I just don't get why he's getting it. Because he's been in WWE, I don't know. I just don't think that the guy is necessarily deserving of this spot right now. I think obviously Chris Adonis and Jesse Goddard is kind of a angle that writes itself, that maybe they should go that route before kind of pushing Adonis to this status. But it is what it is. Hopefully it's not long term. Davey Richards, look, if they're going to make this grand championship thing kind of stand out, look, it kind of relates to MMA because of the rounds. If they got to make it like a different kind of a style. So there's a couple guys I think would fit really well in this division if they're going to go this route and kind of make it different MMA style. So Davey Richards has the MMA training. He's a very good technical wrestler. A guy like Low Key might fit in there. Two that really come to mind when we talk MMA, obviously Lashley and Alberto El Patron. Lashley, a current MMA fighter for Bellator. Alberto El Patron fought in Pride. Check out the Mirko Crow Cop head kick, knocking Alberto El Patron out cold. It's kind of a highlight of Pride's career. But so I'm happy to see Davey in there. I doubt he's probably going to win the match. I would be ecstatic if he did. I don't think Davey versus Eddie is over with, and so I'll give you a little more insight into like some fantasy booking I thought of. So, apparently Davey's retiring at the end of this year, and apparently this isn't the first time, far from it, that he said he's retiring. I believe him. The guy got accepted into medical school. I think this is probably the end of Davey. I want to see this Davey versus Eddie thing kind of be like Raven versus Tommy Dreamer, which is probably my favorite feud of all time. Dreamer could never, ever, ever beat Raven until Raven's very last night. And then that's when he got him. I'd like to. So Davey's already got a couple wins on Eddie. I think we'll have like a big blow-off match at Slammiversary. Davey goes over, and then Davey would come out and say, Eddie's still a mortal enemy of mine for life, and anything Eddie can do, I can do better, and I'm going to show that. Look, we could possibly have Davey go in, win the X Division title, cash in option C. If we don't do that, look, Davey can win the World Heavyweight title. There's a GFW championship that they could put on Davey Richards temporarily, and then that way we can have EC3, James Storm, Alberto Lashley be the focus of the Impact Championship temporarily until we merge the two. And then, December rolls around. They decide, look, there's issues with Eddie and Davey. One last match, loser leaves town, and then Eddie finally gets the win over Davey in some big kind of gimmick match. Something like that is kind of popped into my mind. I would like to see Davey really get the upper hand on Eddie. I want Davey to have a big year for his last year because I think Davey should be champ. At least at some point, but I doubt that's ever going to happen. But yeah. So anyways, then we see Dutch with Mackenzie. It just kind of screamed awkward. Dutch sitting there talking to her. It just came off weird, kind of creepy. So Desmond Xavier, who we mentioned is a rumor to show up in Impact last week on the show, he's announced as a fifth man, and the sixth man will be a surprise. We then jump to the main event. Low Key is the sixth man and your new X Division champion. Brother Underscore, I'll go ahead and kick it over to you here.
Raven Effect, the first thing I got to say about this is they gave it enough time, right? So on one hand, it's like they screwed up the entire show by putting it where they did. On the other hand, at least they did it right. So let's give a little bit of credit for them doing it right. First off, let me just give some props to Desmond Xavier. Apparently, he was the hottest free agent on the market. I don't know exactly what that means, but the kid can fly. And I just said to myself, oh, my God, could you imagine if Impact were able to pick up a Leo Rush? Desmond Xavier versus Leo Rush. Could you imagine the two of them tag teaming together? Oh, my word. That would be insane. So mad props to Desmond Xavier. I hope this is a kid they keep around for a long time. It obviously wasn't his night to go over. I think we all knew he wouldn't go over in this match, but he made a lasting impression and a great first impression. As far as the match itself, Low Key comes out, and I gotta tell you, Raven Effect, I look at Low Key and I look at his facial structure and his face, and I go, is this Tito Ortiz Jr.? Swear to God, he just reminds me of frickin' Tito Ortiz. In an Impact Wrestling term, not necessarily a good thing, right? Just not forget the August 8 warning or August 9, whatever the heck it was, from some years back. That even said, again, there were a lot of great spots in this match. These guys delivered on all levels. Tornado DDT that took out the world was pretty cool. A couple guys maybe a little bit far away. Everybody attempts to drop kick everybody else, and then, they all just kind of land. And then they all get up and they all, drop kick Trevor Lee. It was just a lot of fun spots. And then they did something that was probably pretty hard to do in this match. In the middle of this match, somehow Sanjay, Suicide, Desmond Xavier, and Low Key all managed to just, disappear. You almost got a singles match, and notice this, Raven Effect, between Andrew Everett and Trevor Lee. And those guys just went at it together for quite a while. So you got that hot X Division feud to continue and to just heat up the night while taking all the spots of the other guys. And I thought that this was a great use of this talent. This match itself really delivered. It really did. They probably should have just made it to happen a week later, so they could have put the main event in the heavyweight championship and done something with that. But it really did deliver. You've got Josh actually breaking character and talking about, Sanjay's eye being swollen shut. And that was good because, you want to put some emphasis on that, and you can't do it in character, not with Josh's character. So I like that too. And then Low Key wins. And here's my beef. First of all, dude wears a jacket and a tie and a suit the whole freaking match. Okay? Looks stupid. I don't know. I thought it looked freaking absolutely idiotic and ridiculous. You get all of these suicide plunges and you get the holy shit chance and all these incredible high risk maneuvers, and then Raven Effect. The finale, Low Key with a double stomp and some tight holding. I'm sorry, but with all that action, that double stomp was just terribly disappointing. I didn't come into this match a fan of Low Ki, and I certainly didn't leave it a fan of his either. I just felt like him going over here was just not the right guy, but B, I just don't think that, he represents the X division as well as maybe Andrew Everett. Maybe it's time we actually gave Andrew Everett a chance to shine in the X division, because otherwise he's going to wind up the next Sanjay, the best guy who's never won the X division title, dud. And it just seems to me like this week was the week to pull the trigger on Andrew Everett and then have him drop it later. To me, bringing in Low Ki is just a way of saying we're going to bring a Jeff Jarrett guy in. Again, amazing match. Absolutely loved the time that they gave it. Just feel like the wrong guy went over, and after all that action, Raven effect, a double stomp? I don't know, man. Cut me a break.
Yeah, I've got a lot of mixed feelings on this match. I guess I'm on the opposite turn as I am a Low Ki fan. I loved him when he was Senshi too, actually. I really liked Senshi. I liked what they did with him and that gimmick. Kaval, on the other hand, in WWE was an insult, and I'm not going to go into that, but that was one of the other reasons why I really, really, really turned away from WWE and stopped watching, because the way they treated that guy. Dude, Low Ki has like the coolest voice. Him and Numero 47, like the two coolest voices I've ever heard. I was disappointed when Low Ki left during the Beatdown Clan thing. I think the Beatdown Clan had a lot of potential to be really good. And it sucked to see him and Joe leave during it. And then we all know it happened with Hernandez, MVP, and so forth. But like, so he's doing this like Hitman gimmick or whatever. I don't know how in the hell Low Ki can do the moves that he does in that suit, because that's a tight fitting suit. Like, that shit is not baggy. And it's got to be really hot in there. But hey, props to him. It's a different look, so you know it is what it is. And this, I felt the same way that I watched FK9's show, and FK9 was very animated about not liking what they did here. And really, I'm not going to complain, because look, the match was awesome. The X Division, they got enough time. It shows like they care about the X Division again. Jeff Jarrett knows the value, so I'm not going to complain about that part. But we had the build to Lee versus Everett, and it's the multi-man matches are good and cool and all, but like, we don't need them every time. They're back in the original days of TNA. There was a lot of classic just one-on-one X Division matches. I was looking forward to seeing Trevor Lee versus Andrew Everett, and I think Andrew Everett has been built up very well. The Franken driver that he does is awesome, and the way Trevor Lee sells it is awesome. So look, I was hoping that we were going to get Andrew Everett to win the belt tonight. He didn't, obviously. I was hoping either he wins it or Sanjay wins it. But like, obviously when Low Ki came out, I knew Low Ki was going to win. I knew they were going to go with Low Ki. I guess it gives the belt a little more credibility because he's had it. What is it, 4 times now, they were saying. But I'm not going to bitch about the multi-man. I just don't want to see them all the time. And I think it really took away from the Lee versus Everett thing that had been building to. And it makes me wonder, like, what happens next for Andrew Everett, because all of the build for him and everything they were going in the route with Andrew Everett is kind of dead now. Obviously, they can still have the feud with him and Trevor Lee, but the belt is not on the line there. So I don't know that it's as good of a thing, but, maybe we can get Andrew Everett to beat Trevor Lee, and then, that sets him up to go be the guy that gets a shot at the belt, make that quest. And clearly there's a storyline with Sanjay Dutt. I think Sanjay Dutt should get the belt at some point and be the guy that doesn't cash in option C to give the X Division title more prestige there. It's just, it was, the other things, like, the match itself was awesome. And, the eye injury with Sanjay Dutt was brutal. So that drop kick spot where they all drop kick Trevor Lee. If you guys watch, if anyone missed it, you see Low Ki's knee just come down and crack Sanjay in the eye. And Sanjay's eye was fucked up. And I'm a freak about my eyes. Like, I don't want anything coming near my eyes. So I could not even imagine. I would be freaking out. So props to Sanjay Dutt for finishing that match. Very solid return for you, Sanjay. And, the Desmond Xavier spot that just really wowed me was when he, like, I don't know if he did like a cartwheel or a couple backflips, but he just standing on the mat, leaped over, and jumped into the crowd for the other wrestlers. I mean, you always see someone at least jump on the ropes or the turnbuckle before doing that. That dude did it flat-footed from the mat and dropped over that. Like, they've got to gem in this guy, Desmond Xavier. So the hype behind this guy was pretty real, and it'll be awesome to see where he goes from here. There's definitely a star in the making there. But yeah, it just kind of killed the credibility away from Andrew Everett, and I feel like the rug was kind of ripped out from underneath him, and it kind of wonder where he's going to go from here. But look, the thing that I liked though was it low key pinned the champion. So we're Trevor Lee. I haven't been digging the Trevor Lee title reign. I haven't. He's a good wrestler. There's just nothing that really. There's some about Trevor Lee that I'm just like not in awe of. You know, GFW brought him in. We're thankful for that, GFW. But Trevor Lee it was time to make a change, in my opinion. So that's my thoughts on that. Did you have any more you wanted to add in here?
Nah, I think we said all that needs to be said about this one, buddy.
Yeah. So then we have Low Key celebrating, and so to steal the heat from Low Key, we have JB punching Josh Matthews. I don't know. There we go again. I don't know if you really have any more you want to add on to that, but I just thought, that was kind of stupid. And obviously, like, this is the focus. We're back to the focus on the announcers more than anything else. It was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
So, look, we're kind of do a little bit of a rundown here. So we're going to talk about the talents that were not used at these past tapings. So look, Santana Garrett, she was not used. There was a rumor of this tag team OI4K coming in. They were nowhere to be found. So Kingston was not used. Brooke was not used. Rebel was not used. Now Jesse Goddard wasn't used. But so Jesse apparently was filming this soap opera that's actually, what is it, Emmys that it's actually nominated for Amazon.com.
Yeah, it's like 5 daytime Emmys or something like that.
Yeah. Which, congratulations, Jesse Goddard. And here's the thing, with Jesse making these soap operas, he's doing what he's doing. He may be making more money than what he does wrestling. I don't know if this is kind of going to be towards the end of Jesse Goddard. I hope it's not. I think he improved a lot. And I think, there's that storyline with him and Chris Adonis. They both kind of had the same gimmick. It was both kind of, if anyone watched WWF back in 1993, that was what they were trying to do with Lex Luger before they decided, hey, we got to try and force a new Hulk Hogan down everyone's throat, which was a kind of cool gimmick, the Narcissus Lex Luger. I think that's a match that kind of writes itself, or a feud there. Also, it's Jesse Goddard's birthday. You told me about that earlier, so happy birthday, Mr. Goddard, and also happy birthday to Moose. So MJ Jenkins was not used. She was a new knockout that they had signed. She is on the roster page with the Slammiversary logo, so she's on the roster. She just wasn't used. And then Madison wasn't. Apparently she was there doing something else. But the two I really wonder about is Kingston and Brooke. I think they might be gone from Impact Wrestling. You have any thoughts you want to chime in on those two there?
Not really. I mean, obviously, with Jade leaving, it would make you give pause to Kingston leaving. I found Kingston's reign or time and Impact to be forgettable anyway. He didn't really do anything for me. Brooke, on the other hand, came back, did a match, and isn't there. It could be a number of reasons why Brooke's not there, right? I wouldn't read too much into it. I think she's going to be an enhancement talent moving forward, but they gave her too much of a, I'm back, I'm the chick, I'm not afraid of you, Maria, and she's not there. My guess is they probably didn't have anything for her since she was more feuding with Maria than anything else. So she should probably be back at the next taping would be my guess. But, I mean, who knows? You know what I mean? She probably just on a paper appearance. Yeah,
perhaps there. Kingston was forgettable for me too, but the guy definitely showed me some potential when he cut that promo on James Storm. I am going to kind of bring up Kingston a little bit later because we're going to do a brief rundown on the divisions here and what we're looking at. But so the bigger ones that we're missing, so Cody and Brandy Rhodes did not show up at these past tapings. Cody, one of the big name people in wrestling, period. One of the biggest names in Impact Wrestling, like one of their star power guys. And Cody, he's awesome on TV. Like the guy's definitely won me over. He's better than I thought. He's also the GFW Next Generation Champion or Next Gen Champion. So if we're going to get that belt on TV or ever merge those two belts, we kind of need Cody around. So I've heard that they were booked for like some indie event during these tapings. The thing that makes me question this is, wouldn't Impact be the priority over an indie event? And wouldn't they pay them more than that? Are you worried about Cody being gone?
Not really. Not really. I mean, he's always going to be an enhancement talent because he's never going to be there full time. So he's going to come and he's going to go. They can't invest too much in him. So he comes in for a taping, he's going for a taping. Right now I think he's been for 2 straight tapings, right? And now he's out for a taping. That feels about right for me. They got a lot going on in these tapings, a lot of booking. So the fact that they didn't have anything for Cody, didn't have any TV time to give him, perfect. They put him on every time. All they're doing is pushing his, indie career. And don't forget, he's also wrestling for Ring of Honor. He's also wrestling for New Japan. So they don't need to bring him in every time. So I don't really read too much into that anyway. But then again, if you told me he was gone, I still wouldn't read much into it because he's an enhancement talent. He's a guy that comes in, he's a guy that goes. And at least we didn't have to worry about having Bullet Club, smacked all over our TV set this go round.
Yeah, I can definitely deal without the Bullet Club stuff. Look, Cody and Moose have been having a feud. If we're going to merge the titles at some point between the Grand Championship and the Next Gen, I mean, kind of lines up and sets it up pretty well. That way, Cody's kind of Mr. Wrestling in a way because he's with all the promotions. Rumor has it that the next set of tapings are going to take place in India. If that's the case, I mean, I don't know that we're going to see Cody in India, which means we're going to lead into Slammiversary with no Cody. I'm fine with him not being in all the tapings, but look, if TNA Impact Wrestling is going to have the option to get Cody Rhodes, like you have 2 pay-per-views a year, Slammiversary, Bound for Glory, he's one of the bigger names. I think you got to have Cody on these events. Brandy's good to look at.
She is, isn't she?
Yeah.
Damn.
So the other 2 guys we've mentioned their names throughout the show, FK9's Toilet Paper, Robbie E., and Bram. Now, Bram and Robbie E. were actually in Japan at Noah working as a tag team. I don't know the truth to this part, but there is rumor that they were going by the New Bromance. So it didn't work with Goddard's. It wasn't working with Grado, so now Bram.
It's really going to work well with Bram, right? Because Bram's a bromance kind of guy, right? I mean, that's his personality.
I want to get Chef's thoughts on this on the show here pretty soon.
Have you seen the pictures of the 2 of them over there at Noah? Have you seen the pictures?
I have.
Okay, so they do come off. Folks, if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to hit the monthly page over on Impact Asylum, and if you scroll down, you'll find a picture of them. They look like a bunch of badasses. In fact, if you didn't know that Robbie E was Robbie E, you'd be like, man, they're some badasses. They'd probably be pretty good together as a tag team. You sure as hell wouldn't call them the Bromance, though. You sure as hell wouldn't call them the New Bromance.
The New Rockers worked out so well. So did the New Midnight Express and all that. It just... The New Heavenly Buddies. The New Heavenly Buddies were actually a tag team in GFW, by the way.
The New Blood. There's another new one that worked out well. And there wasn't even an Old Blood.
Where you at, Vinny?
Oh, man. And don't
the
forget...
New LOD.
And don't forget all the times they tried to redo the NWO, right down to the Bullet Club, which is a complete NWO ripoff.
Yeah. Just keep on recycling your top talents into that program there, Ring of Honor. God. Bram just deserves so much better than Robbie E., and especially if they're doing this romance shit. Like, Bram may not be like a world champion, and he may not be that guy, but goddamn, he's so much better than that. Look, if they're gonna do this, like, change Robbie, don't change Bram. The bro thing, the Jersey Shore shit, like, it's done. It's not working. No one is into it. No one takes him serious. The guy was stuck with Grado, for Christ's sake. Like, he was on his way to being a jobber. If they work out as a tag team, that's fine, but they just got to stop doing that. So look, the Knockouts division. The Knockouts look good with the new roster. The X division, we're getting more talent. The X division is good there. And so there's another guy coming back, kind of a bigger name. I don't think he showed up because it was 420, and he had other plans. So, look, the X Division is revived. I think the X Division is going to go back to where it was. The Knockouts are good. Basically, the last thing we're going to touch on is that the Tag Team Division, losing Decay, Reno Scum injured. There's rumor that Mayweather Crimson got injured. So, There's Bram and Magnus as a possibility I'm throwing out. Bram and Kingston, Kingston and Homicide, but they've got to do something with the tag team division. Do you agree?
Yeah, but at the same point in time, give them an opportunity to sort it out, to see how bad these injuries are, who's coming and who's going, and they've got a lot of talent they can bring in from the outside too. So I'd say give them a chance to work on it.
Yeah, it's just look. We know LAX is a champion. There's with Decay gone. There's a lack of tag teams, credible tag teams for them to take on. There was the OI4K rumor that didn't happen. And I'm just gonna throw these 3 names out, and then we're gonna roll out. One I know is ridiculous and will probably never happen, but Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, apparently neither under ROH contract. I think if either of those guys are going anywhere, it's going to go to NXT. But the 2 that also are rumored to not be under contract and having issues, and these are 2 names I want to throw at you, would be War Machine, Raymond Rowe, and Hanson. But I think the one I want to say these 2 words, and I want to just kind of leave this out there, hoping the Impact can do something, and that's Motor City. Apparently neither are under contract. LAX, the new LAX is kind of some X Division guys. Would you love to see this Motor City Machine Gun return the way that I would love to see this?
I mean, I really enjoyed the Motor City Machine Guns, and I like War Machine too. I think if they could get the Motor City Machine Guns and the Young Bucks, I think if they could literally tear the house down in 2 different divisions. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, absolutely, I don't think the Young Bucks are coming. But, if you ask me, if you're going to be poaching tag teams, poach the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a hard one to get. Look, the only reason I'm talking this, as we wrap the show up, is that Impact Wrestling, there's a lot of new talent coming in. Some people think it's too much. I don't, but we finally have a surplus of talent as opposed to being a paper-thin roster. But we're reviving everything to the way the Impact used to be. But the tag team division is hurting, and I just think they got to do something about that. But it's a slow process. The new LAX is awesome. They're over as hell. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap that up. We've run late this week for sure. We hope you've enjoyed the show. HeelCast Nation, I'm Raven Effect. On behalf of Brother _ check out Impact Wrestling this coming Thursday. And also, always remember to check hose.
See ya!